Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cullens and Swans, Volturi of all ages, and everyone else, welcome to Binging Barbie. I'm your host Jay, and with me I have a couple special guests. Trying to walk and chew gum at the same time again, Bethany?
I punched a werewolf in the face.
Badass! And if we weren't natural enemies, Emma, and you weren't trying to steal my reason for existing, my podcast, I might actually like you.
Well, if you weren't planning on sucking the life out of the podcast, I might. Nope, not even then.
Oh, yeah, this is a podcast about toy media franchises, 2000s nostalgia, and whatever else we want to talk about. I guess this is kind of 2000s nostalgia, even though it came out in 2010.
I feel like it definitely still carries the same weight for me.
Yeah, this week we are, of course, talking about the Twilight Saga Eclipse. I'm curious, before we dive in, what are both of your histories with the Twilight franchise?
You want to go first?
Sure, I have a very limited history with the Twilight franchise. I was definitely not allowed to read the books growing up. I think I was also maybe a bit on the young side for the Twilight
The first
audience.
one came out in 2005. So
so I was 5 years old at the time. But I remember some of the older dancers at my dance studio reading the books, and that they were very obsessed at the time. And I remember just kind of rolling my eyes at it, you know. But then college came along, and all that changed when Jay and I sat down and attempted to watch 4 Twilight movies simultaneously on one screen in different tabs.
There was a
on the
logic,
computer.
because we were going to watch one on ×2 speed, but Amazon Prime didn't let us watch it on ×2 speed. So we decided to do 4 at once instead.
You remember more specifics about that than I do, because, yeah. Anyway, so one tab crashed, so we ended up with only 3 movies, but that, I think, up until this year, well, last year, I guess, was kind of the extent of my Twilight exposure. And now I have seen, the first 3 movies. The first one twice this past year, so.
Yeah, we've gone to the screenings together, which we've talked about a lot since our other guests on the series so far have also been to at least one of the screenings. So,
yeah,
a lot of fun.
I have a longer history with the Twilight Saga because of my mother. So I, like Emma, would have been too young to read the book when it came out, but when the movies started coming out, my mom became obsessed with Twilight. She was definitely Team Edward. And I can remember, I don't think this was the case for the first movie, but I believe it was the case at least for the 3rd through 5th movies, where I went to the screening with her. And I can remember.
How old would you have been at that time?
When did the 3rd movie come out?
This one came out 2010.
So I would have been 11 years old. Yeah.
I love how different our moms are.
Yeah. I had a good time, though. And then I did read the book at some point, probably when I was like 13 or so, and I don't remember really much about it, so it must have not been...
The book, singular, so just...
Well, just the first one. Yeah. I don't think I read any of the other ones. But, yeah, and I have seen the movies. I think I've only seen I've seen the first movie several times since, just because it's such a classic, and everybody has, a good time watching it and making fun of it or whatever. But I think this might be maybe my 3rd time seeing the rest of the movies.
Ooh.
Really?
So, yes, I definitely have not seen the other movies that
You're the
many
resident
times.
expert.
Yes. Well, over the course of a decade, I've seen those movies. This is my 3rd time. So, yeah.
And I do have to ask, Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Team Jacob. I always had a huge crush on him when I was little, and you know what, I have more obvious, we can get into it more over the course of our conversation tonight, because I don't want I don't want to be flippant about it,
Okay.
but I definitely am Team Jacob. So
Yes. Yeah, I understand your hesitation.
yeah.
Team Edward. Just for the vampire factor, like I'm a vampire girly at heart, so yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing I think people miss about the question is it's not who should Bella end up with, it's who would you want to end up with.
Mm,
Right.
Yeah, I am. I mean, even when I read the book, I started out Team Edward just because, like, she's obviously going to end up with Edward.
Mm.
Like, there isn't a second option, even though Jacob has, like, a role to play in that. But no, as I read the books and then now watching the movies, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm leaning towards Team Jacob,
Mhm.
definitely.
Alright,
I'm outnumbered here.
Yeah, this is. We had an interesting. I think the audience at the theater we've been seeing it with is very Team Jacob.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were howling. There was a lot of howling going on in
Oh
that
yeah,
theater.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think there are reasons for that, which we will obviously be getting into. But
Mhm.
yeah, anyway, this is Twilight Eclipse. This was released June 30th, 2010, directed by David Slade, who is he directed the films Hard Candy, the vampire horror film 30 Days of Night, and this is relevant to your last appearance on the podcast. He did the Black Mirror Bandersnatch, which is one of the Choose Your Own Adventure Netflix specials,
Oh, right. Okay.
which I think recently they have removed all of those from Netflix.
Really?
I wonder
They're no
why.
longer. I think it's just too much infrastructure and not enough people.
That
Huh.
makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sad.
But yeah, David Slade also directed music videos for Muse, System of a Down, The Killers, and many other bands, as well as episodes of Breaking Bad, American Gods, and Hannibal.
Wow.
Emma, I
Yeah,
know you're a fan of Hannibal.
I am, and I saw that in your notes and was instantly realizing how much that makes sense. Like looking at, I feel like the lighting and the, just overall tone of Hannibal and the Twilight movies. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
things are all coming together. This makes sense.
it's really interesting because the first four Twilight movies all have a different director, and you
Huh.
can tell they're going to different people to bring new things each time.
Mm.
So it started with Catherine Hardwicke, who was at that point sort of most known for her like young adult films,
Okay.
Hmm.
more indie type stuff. She wasn't able to return for the second film, so they brought in Chris White, who had just done The Golden Compass, so big
Oh.
CGYA adaptation. And now they're bringing in David Slade, who has more of like a horror background. Maybe trying to bring in like I don't know. This one feels like they're leaning towards, hey, can we get boys interested in Twilight?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. I think that is an interesting question. I do also think a lot of brands that ask that question, like Disney asks it, Disney Animation asks it like every 10, 15 years. Or like, but what if we could get boys interested in these movies? And it always does not work out.
Hmm. Well, looking at the composition of the audience at Wealthy Theater the other night, I feel like it's working well unless those were all just boyfriends there with their girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the breakdown goes for. This actually did get a higher Rotten Tomato score than a lot of the other Twilight movies. I think just because they were casting their net a little wider and bringing in a director with more of the horror cred. So yeah, once again, this is written by Melissa Rosenberg, who has written all of the Twilight films. She's the one with the brilliant idea of, hey, what if we just adapted the books as they are written? And ended up working out surprisingly well for them.
Because you've recently reread or read the
Read them
books.
for the first time, yeah.
Do you feel like it's like a pretty
Oh yeah,
like they're pretty much just kind of like right
yeah,
following the books?
yeah. This one has more changes, but they're very minor, and a lot of them are fixing issues with the book. So like clear issues rather than just because Twilight has a lot of issues
Yeah.
in general. But yeah, this is smoothing over some things that were a little iffy in the books.
I wonder how Stephanie Meyer felt about it.
She seems to have been very in step with the creators here.
Okay, cool.
And I like the changes aren't massive. They're just like little. little. I mean, the big one for me that I noticed is Charlie has been. There's a scene in the book where after Jacob kisses Bella without her consent, she tells Charlie, and his reaction is, "Well, you should forgive him."
Mm.
In the movie, they've just removed that specific part,
Mm-hmm.
so kind of you don't have that scene, so then you get to think a little bit better of Charlie.
Right. Yeah.
And there's other little tweaks they do here and there. A lot of it is just like smoothing over exposition
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
or doing things visually that you can't do in a novel, obviously.
Mm.
Yeah, we have cinematography once again by Javier Aguirre, and who did the last one? And music by Howard Shore, probably most well known for doing the Lord of the Rings scores.
Wow.
But he actually also got a start in horror films as well, so
Huh.
yeah.
So
I heard more Lord of the Rings than horror in this score, but I think there
yeah.
is influence of both.
When did Lord of the Rings come out? Would this have been after?
Yeah. Yeah, those came out 2001 to 2003.
What a career.
Yeah,
Lord
right?
of the Rings, followed by Twilight.
I mean, the last one was done by Alexandre Desplat, who works a lot with Guillermo del Toro and Wes Anderson.
Huh.
So they are bringing in big name composers here.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I'm sure that they got well paid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like, I feel like that's something that I'll say about these movies is just, they're always very pleasant to listen to, both from the score standpoint and then the soundtrack of the
Yeah.
songs that they bring into the movies.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm always impressed by that.
Yeah, just to get into the plot summary here. In Seattle, a young man named Riley is attacked by Victoria in the first movie, who turns him into a vampire. Back in Forks, Bella and Edward are dating again, and Bella wants Edward to turn her into a vampire, but he is trying to dissuade her. Bella also spends time with Jacob, who is still in love with her, and while on a walk, he kisses Bella without her consent. She punches him and breaks her hand. Jacob apologizes but does not relent in his attempts to win Bella over, so he invites Bella to a tribal meeting where Billy tells the story of a woman who sacrificed her life to distract a vampire. Sure, there's no foreshadowing in there. Alice has a vision of Riley building a vampire army in Seattle, so the Cullens call for a temporary agreement with the werewolves, and the two groups train together for the upcoming attack. Bella and Edward spend a night together. Bella wants to have sex, but Edward asks to wait until they are married and proposes to her. She accepts. Now, there was a proposal scene in the last movie, so I don't know what's up with that, but
Well, yeah, and they also at the very beginning, like when they're dating again, they're lying in the beautiful meadow. I feel like they're basically like
They not
saying like,
are-
"Are we getting? Like, we're getting married, right?"
Yeah.
Was there a ring involved in the last proposal?
No,
scene? I
there
was gonna say
wasn't.
I don't remember that.
So it might not have been the official proposal,
Mm.
but I actually I'll bring this in now since it's relevant. Our guest on the next episode, Emily, who listeners will know from the High School Musical series, and you two will know from the Oscar party.
Mm-hmm.
She has seen everything and read all of the books except for Eclipse. She refuses to engage with it because New Moon ends with them getting engaged, and Breaking Dawn begins with them getting married.
So it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which, yeah, I mean, besides the Victoria stuff, a lot of this is just kind of like
Mhm.
back and forth love triangle that we've
Yeah.
already, as the audience, we kind of already know what the conclusion is.
Right.
So I am curious, Bethany, as someone who was engaging with this as it was coming out or more, or at a younger age especially, were you aware of that? Like, was Bella ending up with Edward something that you knew would happen, or were you holding out for the possibility?
That's a great question. I feel like there was probably something in the back of my mind that was like, sure, like she's gonna end up with Edward because that's how it just was kind of set up from the beginning. But I do feel like what was so enrapturing about the movies is that like if you've never experienced it before, it is kind of like ooh, like it really does. I mean, I feel like because and especially in this movie, Bella and or like Kristen Stewart and
Taylor
Taylor
Lautner?
Lautner do have some chemistry.
Yeah.
It is like ooh, like who is she gonna pull towards? And I don't know. I do feel like that it didn't just feel like fluff. I guess.
Yeah, or like a foregone conclusion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've just always been curious about that as someone who is not sort of active in the.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, Bella accepts the proposal, and fearing for Bella's safety, they decide that she and Edward will go off to a secluded spot in the mountains. Nothing bad can happen in secluded spots in the mountains. Jacob carries her there in order to cover her scent and also for maximum melodrama. During the night, an intense snowstorm blows in, and Edward reluctantly allows Jacob to cuddle with Bella to keep her warm, also maximum melodrama.
Could get any worse.
The next morning, Jacob finds out that Bella is engaged to Edward, and he leaves for the battle, or is about to leave for the battle. Bella tries to get him to stay, kissing him and admitting that she loves him. Her love for Edward is just stronger. Jacob promises to come back to her alive. The Cullens and the werewolves fight the vampire army and are victorious, but Riley and Victoria are nowhere to be found. Victoria picked up on Edward's scent and followed it into the mountains. Oh no, who could have foreseen this coming? She and Riley attack Bella and Edward, and they are close to killing Edward, but Bella cuts herself, and the blood distracts them for long enough for Edward to regain his advantage, and he kills them. Again, calling back to the tribal meeting there.
Mm-hmm.
Bella and Edward rush to the battlefield just in time to see one of the straggler vampires crush Jacob, and before Carlisle can attend to him, the Volturi appear. And unbeknownst to them, we've been seeing throughout the film that the Volturi were fully aware of this vampire army and decided not to stop them, hoping the army would kill off at least some of the Cullens. But of course, the Volturi are surprised that the Cullens survived and warns them that they need to turn Bella soon. Jane orders one of her guards to kill Bree, a newborn vampire who surrendered to the Cullens, who we will talk about later. And Jacob is taken back to his house where Carlisle is forced to re-break his bones so that they can heal properly. Um, Bella and Jacob talk, and Bella is clear that she will never choose him over Edward. He asks her to leave him alone for a bit. And then Bella and Edward try and figure out how to tell Charlie that they are engaged. Good comedic end to the movie.
Truly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not going to go over well. Prediction for the next movie.
Yeah, I have to say, this is my least favorite of the books, but maybe my favorite of the movies so far.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that kind of the contrast
Yeah.
between the book and the movie.
It's just little things. I think so for me reading New Moon, the first half of New Moon, I was like, "Oh, this Jacob kid is like the obvious choice for Bella. Like he is just so friendly and nice and like considerate towards her." And then once he turns into a werewolf, he turns into like discount Edward, but angrier.
Oh no!
Yeah.
And so I was like very disappointed. And then this one just like it feels like it's written almost as the I don't know. I think there's a disconnect between what Stephanie Myers intends and what comes off in the text in terms of Bella's relationship with Jacob. And so a lot of the stuff he does in the book, which in the movie also comes off as creepy, in the book comes off as even more creepy. Because you don't have Taylor Lautner who's like, he just exudes like a sweet vibe, even when he's doing like moody bad
Baby
boy
face.
stuff. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I believe he was still underage when they filmed at least some of this movie.
Really?
He was for New Moon.
Okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, you see him, and you're like, ah, that is a man, and then they zoom in on his face, and you're like, ah, that is a child. But no, yeah, there's like a sweetness that he brings to the role that then lessens some of the stuff that in the books was just like red alert, red flag. Because yeah, the story is basically the same. Yeah, this is darker and scarier and more violent, but we also get like so many dramatic emotions.
Right. It really felt like I feel like when I watched the first Twilight movie, it feels almost comedic to me. This really feels like a drama.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I feel like there are parts that are funny because it's just like so ridiculous, but it's not a like funny movie. You know what I mean?
yeah. There's a almost camp to the first two.
Right. Yeah.
That here it's been like stripped away, and I think that's David Slade coming in as a director and being like, how can I take this a little more seriously?
Yeah. I think in some ways I was almost a little bit sad about that. Like I think as I was reflecting on this movie, I was realizing how much I was missing kind of those like classmate, like at school interactions, and
Yeah.
then like interactions with, like Charlie or, parents, stuff like that. And this movie still has that, absolutely, but it's pretty limited. And every time it would happen, it was kind of jarring because it felt like the world of, you know, high school graduation and like having the sex talk with your dad, like these are entirely different universes from the werewolves and the vampire battle and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the love triangle, it's
Yeah.
just so present. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that I really felt that disparity in the books as well. Because in the books, what I love is Bella as this high schooler and like this typical teenager. Maybe not every teenage experience, but a lot of teenagers experience that like awkwardness, insecurity, all of these different things. So then removing the high school setting and being more like, here's the vampires, here's the vampire lore, here's the love triangle stuff. Yeah, that is like a big shift away. Even more so, New Moon does it a little bit. This one just veers completely off. So I definitely get that. I think for me, part of it is just like I already knew that was going to happen because I had read the book,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't as much of a disappointment for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, it sort of in some ways helps you forget a little bit how young the characters are.
Oh yeah,
Edward aside, right? But like, yeah, I know you had mentioned kind of the age difference between, for instance, like
Oh, I've got
Edward
so
and
much to
Jacob.
say
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
that.
We'll get to that. But yeah.
yeah. It's interesting. I think bringing in David Slade because he had been asked like when the original Twilight was coming out because I think that's around the time that his vampire film came out. So he was asked like, "Would you ever do a Twilight?" And he said, "No, those are dumb movies for girls." And then here he is a few years later. I mean, not. I think he was a little bit more
Yeah.
democratic about it, but that was basically what he was getting at. And then here he is a few years later coming in and bringing a perspective. And yeah, I think he's taking it with a seriousness that Catherine Hardwicke had a lot of fun with it. And then Chris White, I actually listened to a commentary he did like 10 years later, looking back on it, and he talked about how he was just trying to deliver like he knows that the book is what it is, but he knows that's what the fans want. So the way he put it is like the fans are asking for a cheeseburger. I'm not going to give them a steak. I'm going to give them the best quality Wagyu beef cheeseburger that I can.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think David Slade is maybe approaching it a little bit more like, where can I add a little bit of darkness, a little bit of higher stakes? But I don't know exactly. I couldn't find any good interviews with him about this. So
Yeah.
I wonder what his like feeling
yeah,
about it is now.
yeah, especially like because the interviews that I found were all part of the promotional tour, so those are very like practiced.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas looking back on it 10, 15 now years later, what would he say that he didn't say then?
Yeah. Is he proud of his creation?
I feel like he should be. There's a lot of just great stuff here from a stylistic perspective that he brought in.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know how he feels about having made a Twilight film. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Apparently, Eclipse was originally intended to be the last in the series when Stephanie Meyer was planning it out.
So it would have just been a trilogy.
Yeah.
And she would have not turned at all then.
Well, I think she said that the ending was significantly different.
Oh.
So that probably would have happened then at the end.
Okay.
Um, and then, yeah, Meyer said besides the ending, not as much change from the original draft. I do kind of wonder if Jacob's role in this got a lot bigger after how popular he was in the second
That
book.
makes sense. Yeah.
If she was seeing that come in, because this is definitely like the love triangle movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're focusing on, but Bella is like, yeah, it's presenting both Edward and Bella, or Edward and Jacob as viable options for Bella. And yeah.
After that tent scene, it almost does feel like presenting Jacob with Edward or Bella.
It does. We'll get to that a bit more because I have
Okay.
things to say about that. I would read. Basically, any pairing in Twilight I would find interesting. I think my ship is Beau Swan from the gender bend Twilight with Jacob from the first half of New Moon.
Whoa.
I think that would be interesting to read. But
Hmm.
yeah, there are so many. Once you introduce the gender bent Twilight, then there are so many ways that the ships fly. It's
Oh my gosh.
insane.
Endless fan fiction.
Oh yeah. There, I need to find it again. There's a fanfic that is basically a rewrite of Twilight, but they use the gender swap Bella and regular Edward,
Wow.
and like combine those two.
Oh, what an interesting dynamic that would be.
Yeah,
I love fan communities.
but yeah, this is as we've talked about, we already kind of know who Bella ends up with, so it does end up being like a bit of a pointless back and forth. But I do actually like how Jacob and Edward are representations of Bella's two futures, and I think the movie especially highlights this, where it's like on the one hand, she has like vampire and like leave everything behind, start an entirely new life, but be eternally beautiful and live forever with the love of her life. Or she has the more like stay human and live with a werewolf and all of the complications that will come from that, but she still gets to be a part of her community.
Dare I say, I don't know if Stephanie Meyer had this in mind with this love triangle and all the decisions that these characters are making in this book. But I feel like the perspective I have coming to this, to the Twilight series 15 years after I was first introduced to it, I'm in a completely different phase of my own life. I feel like it's striking me that, I mean, Bella and Jacob, not necessarily Edward, but Bella and Jacob are teenagers. And, like, they are making the most ridiculous decisions. And Bella is, flapping back and forth, like, between these two people. But it's like, she's 17, like, that's just, like, how life feels sometimes. And so even if it is, like, Stephanie Meyer is actually just doing this to draw out the books and to make more money or whatever. But if I sit back and I tell myself to relax, they're just teenagers, then I can kind of enjoy the way that psychology kind of plays out.
Yeah, I think that's the graduation speech that oh,
Yeah.
I'm forgetting her name.
Anna Kendrick.
Yeah, what Anna Kendrick gives is like that's exactly what it's about. Is we're teenagers, we have our entire life ahead of us. I do think that's an addition for the movie. I don't think that's in the
Really?
book
Oh.
because it does go against what the book is saying and what the whole plot of Twilight is, which is Bella and Edward are in love, so Bella must marry Edward. Whereas, yeah, this feels like it's bringing in a different perspective in like, hey, you're 17 or 18 now. You're 18. This is not you don't have to decide this kind of stuff now. But of course, I mean what's interesting about it, Stephanie Meyer has said she basically wrote these books like wrote them through, didn't give a whole lot of thought to like themes or ideas. So this is just like unfiltered. This is how she views the world. There isn't a strong consideration for like messages or what she's trying to say. She's just trying to write. And a lot of interesting things are revealed in that. Like especially in the last movie, here we get it a little bit. Bella is afraid of aging because she puts a lot of stock in her physical appearance. And in the book, she is described as very plain, or at least describes herself as very plain. But she's still afraid of losing the look she does have. The message of the series is not Bella should find worth in herself that is not tied to her beauty. It's Bella should become a vampire so that she doesn't have to worry and she will be beautiful forever.
Yeah.
And then the overall message of the series even is Bella defines her self-worth by how others perceive her. And so she puts a lot of her self-worth in how Edward perceives her, which is why New Moon happens, because he destroys that and now she has no sense of self-worth. And then by the end of the series, she is still defining her self-worth by Edward and then what she has a kid. So now it's her kid is reliant on her, so that is her self-worth is entirely external. The books never like interrogate that. Just kind of accept it as like, this is the way it should be.
Wow.
Which when you bring in that Stephanie Meyer is Mormon and she has like a very typical,
Wait, I didn't
she got
know
married.
that.
Yeah. That's, oh my gosh, there's this awesome meme that I've been seeing going around that it's like, oh, what is it? It was like,
So that's why people at the movie screening kept saying, it's because he's Mormon.
Yeah.
About Edward.
Yeah. But it's like, it was like, you know, something that the Catholicism gave the world, and it was like, I don't remember what piece of media it was. And something that like Protestantism gave the world was Veggie Tales, and something that Mormonism gave the world was Twilight. Yeah.
Oh no, this is like a very Mormon series where you drill down into like the ideas it is and how you can transcend humanity, but you are indebted to your group, your family unit.
Wow. Dang.
I can't take credit for that observation. That has been made by other people who are smarter than me. But it is like, yeah, no, it makes so much sense when you're viewing the series from that perspective. And like a writer who is basically just putting all of her thoughts out on the page and not thinking super much about like what it says about her.
Yeah. It's like an instance of everyone thinks it feels this way, right? And then put it out in the world and then realize
like, huh?
People are like, oh, that's Bella doesn't have any sense of self-worth. That is a bad thing. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. This is why I love talking about and thinking about Twilight, because it is so much a reflection of actual things that people think and actual attitudes. And so by examining it, it's kind of like challenging us. I definitely have a lot of Bella tendencies, especially as a teenager. I was very Bella-ish. I didn't have like a super strong sense of self-worth that wasn't defined by what I imagined people around me were thinking. So yeah, reading this is like, oh, here is a character who has that same thing. Now I think the shortcoming of Twilight is it isn't challenging that idea.
Right.
It's just
Accepting
reinforcing
it. Yeah.
It's kind of a natural part of adolescence, which, I mean, it's not wrong, but doesn't have to be that way.
Most coming of age stories are about growing out of that.
Yeah.
Or like I think of like Titanic, the other one I think of, because that has a lot of similarities to Twilight. But at the end of Titanic, spoilers, Jack dies, so Rose has to establish her own sense of self-worth. Whereas here,
is Jack supposed to be like Edward or like Bella?
neither, because Jack's whole thing is that he is the force that pushes Rose out of her comfort zone into a greater sense of freedom.
Oh, I see. So you're saying this is okay. I get
No, there's the similarities in that one. Edward is more the Billy Zane character who's like, you're gonna marry me and be my wife, which so Edward isn't that, but the result is if Rose had married the Billy Zane character, that would be what the equivalent of how Twilight actually ends.
Maybe Jack is like Jacob. Anyway,
but Jacob is still
it's reverse Twilight. It's what would have actually happened if Bella.
Except Jacob doesn't want Bella to establish a sense of worth outside of him either.
Fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we have these like two futures that Bella is choosing between. They're basically the same future. One is just she sees her family, and the other is she doesn't see her family. But yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating to me.
Because I feel like it would be more interesting if it wasn't just about her family. Because I feel like Bella just, and maybe this is part of the like building of the story, but she like just moved to Forks.
Yeah.
You know, she has really no connection to this place. She's got some friends in high school, but like they're not very deep friendships.
Oh no,
and so
not
it's
at
like
all.
there's nothing else really holding her to like, or establishing her sense of self.
Which is why she can choose Edward, because she
Right.
doesn't have super strong connections. He's her strongest connection outside of her father. So
Right.
This is the reason that you have friends, because otherwise you might get absorbed into a unhealthy vampire family.
Right.
Except in general, the Cullens are actually like relatively supportive and nice.
Yeah, they're a great family.
I think Edward is part of the problem here. Which, yeah, it is interesting that Edward, after the last movie, well, and especially the first Twilight, just feels so, he's so manipulative and constantly, like, getting Bella to do what he wants her to do. So for him to be this entire movie like, no, I just want Bella to make the choice, and I guess she's chosen me. Guess that's super convenient for me.
Yeah. Like maybe he's only being quote unquote cool and mature about it because he's getting what he wants.
Yeah, I don't even know with him. I don't have a handle on his character outside of like I think by this point in the series, part of the reason this movie feels so strongly Team Jacob is because Edward isn't that interesting of a character after the first movie.
Yeah.
Because he's basically overcome his desire to kill Bella and drink her blood. Which was the thing that made him compelling in the first one is Bella feels undesirable. He desires her so much it's an actual problem. And so there's a dynamic there. Whereas now they're just like they're the established couple. And so you do have to kind of like throw in a love triangle there to build some drama.
Yeah. He's just an old man.
Yeah. There's no, I already talked about the game. There's a game that has a good twist that connects back to this, but it's one that I won't spoil because it's one of my favorite plot twists ever.
The cup.
Oh yeah, further down in my notes, we've been talking about the drama.
Preview of coming attraction.
The third act is just so much melodrama. It's so exciting. It's so juicy. I love everything there.
Which on that note, I did just want to say because we were talking about how this, there's kind of even though you like supposedly even though you know that Endgame is Edward, there is kind of this like will they won't they going
Yeah.
on, right? I will say that having realized that I haven't actually ever seen the last movies or read the books, I kind of had this moment of being like, I mean, I'm assuming that she ends up with Edward, but like there could be another ending to the story that I'm not aware of because, yeah, it feels convincing enough in this movie that that could be a
Okay. Yeah.
possibility. So
That's interesting for me to hear because I've just known as long as I've been aware of Twilight as like a thing and Team Edward and Team Jacob as like different factions. They've just been like, well, yeah, she ends up with Edward at the end. There's no question. So it is interesting to hear a different perspective on that. That this, at least the movie is doing a good job at like throwing doubt in there.
yeah.
No, I do have to say before we get to the tent, I do love the non-sex scene because things get really horny all of a sudden.
You know, I think. Oh, you know what's funny? Isn't that like right after she has that conversation with her dad?
Yes.
And so I feel like what's happening in her mind might be that like she wasn't really necessarily like thinking about sex a lot, but then everybody's like talking to her about it. Everybody's like, "Oh, you gotta have sex," or like, "He's gonna use you." What? And she's like, "Wait a second. If everybody's talking about it, yeah."
No, I do think it is very refreshing that she's the one who's initiating here. I think that's something that even in literature targeted at women, you don't see a lot.
Right.
It's usually the men who are initiating things. So like that is really cool. It's just my favorite joke that people yelled out in the movie as we were watching it is someone just yelled out, "No means no, Bella."
For real though.
Yeah,
She was really coercing him.
Yeah. But it is like such a flip of the dynamic of how you normally imagine even just Bella and Edward as a relationship. He's usually the one who's like kind of pushing her bound. I guess I don't know. I guess she does a lot of like the I know you're a vampire, but I'm gonna date you anyway stuff.
Yeah.
But there is like some Edward is very gaslighty.
Yes.
We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But no, it's the Mormonism thing. As was also yelled out in the theater.
Do you think that like Stephanie Meyer was like inserting her own beliefs there, like they're not going to have sex before they're married because
Yeah,
it's really
no,
interesting.
that is like, I think that's just generally how that stuff is read.
That makes sense.
So that is probably more fully her than her like editors or whatever also being like, well, this is a YA book and we shouldn't be encouraging the kids to have sex before marriage. So like,
Sex sells enough that like,
Right.
because why, I guess, and YA is in a different place now than it was back then, but
definitely, yeah.
this next book has sex scenes. So that was
Yeah.
not
That
a
wasn't the
concern.
problem.
No.
I can remember very vividly watching that next movie in the theater with my
With your
mom.
mother.
And it is like PG-13 and, you know, very restrained. But no, this is definitely like, it's the whole, oh, he's a vampire, so he'll hurt her. But no, that's not what. There's intent going on there, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. His name is Edward Cullen, and he's abstinence until she dies.
That
was a good one.
Yes, I thought that up in the theater, but I didn't want to yell it out. There's another. The other one that I wish I had yelled out in the theater is when Jasper, who is of course a former Confederate soldier, said,
Oh my
"I
gosh.
never lost a battle," and I went to yell, "You lost the war!"
Yeah. Are we gonna talk
That
about
reaction.
that?
Oh, we have to talk about
Okay,
that.
good.
I was gonna do that as a
Oh,
character.
boy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's okay. The cup tent. That is not my joke. That is ContraPoint's joke from her excellent Twilight video. Go and see it if you haven't. No, it's just like maximum drama. It's
Absolutely.
it's the man and the woman have arrived at the hotel and there's only one room left and it only has one bed.
Honestly, that's like my favorite scene in the whole movie.
It's so good.
It's just like also very well acted.
Yeah.
And shot.
Yeah. When I think I maybe whispered this to you, Bethany, when we were in the theater, but there's like a point where it shows that like it shows Jacob go and start cuddling with Bella, and then it like cuts away at some point and then cuts back to a close up of the two of them. And I said to Bethany, I really wanted it to pan out and then it just be all three of them cuddling together, but we sadly didn't get that. But you know,
I think Edward is like cold enough that if he were involved in the cuddle, it would actually be an issue.
That's another thing that I can remember vividly from watching these movies with my mother is I can remember her. I don't remember which movie it was because it happens in every movie where Bella is like cuddling with Edward and she's got her head on his chest. But I can remember her like leaning down over to me in the theater and being like, it would be like lying on a piece of cold marble.
Which is canon. That is how she describes it in the book, basically.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
That is later on. I saw you had written in the notes. Why do the vampires shatter into glass? I think my interpretation is they're stone.
They're made of stone.
Yeah, they're just like they are not bodies. They have like solidified and frozen.
Yeah. Wow. What's not to love about that?
Yeah. No, this tent scene is just phenomenal, and we're like the dynamic between Jacob and Edward in this like temporary truce that they have in their conversation is so good.
Yeah. They have a really beautiful conversation, and I'm remembering that another reason I love this scene so much is that it reminds me of one of my favorite short stories. Which is I have this, I don't know where I got this, but the cover is like half torn off. It's this book of Canadian short stories from the 70s. And one of them is this, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like this story of like this young woman is engaged to be married to this guy who lives like across this frozen lake, and she needs an escort to get to this guy, and this like local preacher is like, I'll escort you, like whatever, I got nothing else to do. And so they're like he's like escorting her in this like snowstorm, and they have to like switch on the horse, like who's walking and who's riding the horse. And then it gets to a point where the snowstorm is too bad and the horse runs off, and so they find this cabin, and it's like an old hunter's cabin, and so there's like a bunch of furs on the walls, and so what they end up doing is like what they call bundling, which they like take all their clothes off and they like wrap they hold each other close, and then they wrap themselves like a tortilla in this like, or like a taquito really, in this like fur, and they stay all night bundled up together. And then then they decide to get married.
Yeah.
It's such a well written story,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
as that was happening, I was like, oh, it's like bundling.
Yeah.
They're bundling.
Mhm.
It's such a good scene.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like the
Like-
facial expressions, the acting in that scene,
The fact
like
that like they
the
kept
absolute detestation in those glares.
and they kept moving the shot to Bella, and I feel like I could see like her eyes were like barely open, like she was awake,
Mhm. Oh,
and
yeah.
the people behind us were like, she's sleeping. Why do they keep on showing that? Like,
No, she's listening.
she's
in
listening.
the book, because the book is entirely from her perspective, so she is awake for this
Mhm.
conversation, even though like they don't know she's awake.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Edward spent so much time with her when she's asleep. You would think he would know, but and then we get into like the final battle, which is just so exciting. I guess first off we have Jacob finding out about the engagement. I think we should talk about this now because it is important to get into. The thing with the book that you need to in this series that you need to understand in order for this part to make sense is that Jacob is 100% right. Bella is deeply in love with him.
Yeah.
Edward, she loves Edward more, but she is in love with Jacob. I think especially the book, it comes off as him manipulating her platonic feelings for him. In the movie, I get it a little more.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's why like it comes off as so creepy when you don't go in knowing that.
Mm.
And even knowing that, like, yeah, he is breaking her boundaries. He kisses her without her consent, and then is like, this one is dubious. He's trying to like coerce her into kissing him. But yeah, the intent of that scene is no, Bella is actually in love with Jacob because part of the Twilight audience is in love with Jacob,
Mhm.
and Bella is the embodiment of the readers of Twilight.
Yeah.
And is it in a romantic way?
Oh yeah, that it is intended that way. At least that's how I read it.
Yeah.
I think the idea is, and definitely go watch the ContraPoints video to hear more about this. But it is the idea of like the fantasy of non-consent is that
Hmm.
you are not the one responsible for what is happening.
Hmm.
So when Jacob coerces Bella into kissing him, she is not responsible for cheating on Edward.
Mm.
Oh. Huh.
So she gets to kiss him and gets the pleasure of kissing this man who she loves
Mm.
without the responsibility and the fallout of what that would mean if it was like her genuinely making that decision versus her being coerced into it.
Oh,
Interesting.
damn.
Yeah.
But it is not like a healthy relationship dynamic to be
No.
portraying, especially to like teenagers.
Yeah.
Because yeah, no, he is 100% manipulating her into that kiss, even if her feelings are genuine. Like she has said no, she has made it very clear her answer is no.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love talking about this stuff. It's just like
Mhm.
there's so much going on. The dynamics are so interesting to dig into. Yeah, it's just very interesting to me.
Yeah. Oh, I love all these insights because that is not where my mind was going when I was watching
Oh
this.
no, that is like yeah, that is reading the book for me the first time I was like it comes out of nowhere.
Mhm.
I think the movie because Kristen Stewart and Taylor Lautner have genuine chemistry together, it's a little I think that's part of why the movie doesn't feel as extreme. But yeah, in the book it just kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere. But then you have to remember that like this is what the Twilight audience is like. Part of the Twilight audience is in love with Jacob. Bella is the Twilight audience.
Mhm.
Also, like you can be in love with two people at the same time.
Yeah.
That is a thing that can happen.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and I feel like it's definitely like, you know, like Jacob is the if Edward were not there, like Jacob would be a very like
yeah,
reasonable. It would be reasonable to think that like they would have fallen in love,
yeah,
and
and potentially he would have been as toxic.
right,
Though I
right,
mean that's a question of like, where do people's traits come from?
right. I think,
Still
yeah.
got his own issues to work through.
Right. I think it's a culture thing. I think it's also, I mean, I can get more into this later, but the fact that like he was evidently going through puberty
Yes.
and like not just normal puberty, but werewolf puberty, which
Yeah.
who knows what other hormones are involved there.
There is though like the slight threat of violence from him, especially with how they frame him and then Sam and is it Lydia,
Yeah.
his wife, and like how Sam accidentally attacked Lydia
Right.
and how that's like a threat that is supposed to be in the back of your head whenever Jacob and Bella are on screen together.
Right. And there's that scene in his like where they took the motorcycle together and they're like in his garage
Yeah, and
and he starts like throwing
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is like that is a very clear red flag.
Right.
But that's not what you're supposed to be thinking of when you're watching the movie. You're supposed to be thinking of, oh, Jacob is so passionate.
Well, I think too, just getting into like kind of bizarre facet of the movie, the whole like imprinting thing, right?
Ooh,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, just you wait, Emma. Just you wait.
but like that just kind of feels like it adds a whole another layer of kind of like that danger, or like this isn't just evidently like, oh, I fell in love with someone and it's like that feels like possessive and
Yeah.
like
Yes.
that feels like a lot more threatening than just having a crush on somebody.
Also, you know what? And this is not. I mean, certainly people are allowed to have these things for their fantasy novels, but I feel like I just don't love depictions of love where like the choice is taken out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
It is horrifying when you think of it from both the recipient and the person who has done the imprinting, because it's in Twilight it is involuntary. It just happens.
Right.
So like and the books get into it a lot with like Jacob's fear of imprinting and being like, that will completely change who I am. And then it does happen, and I won't say how it happens because spoilers, but yeah, it is like,
Okay.
oh, yeah, it gets weird.
Yeah.
But no, it's like, yeah, it's horrifying to be like, oh, these people do not have a choice in the matter, and it gets a little creepy. They don't talk about a side character who is in the books who imprints, and I think they're just like saving that reveal for the next one in terms of what direction they're going to take the imprinting.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole werewolf thing is interesting to me. The lore behind it, because Stephanie Meyer is taking this actual culture and then throwing her own stuff into it and making up her own legends and her own ideas.
Right. While also like really definitely using a lot of like tropes that like white people have about Native American culture, of like the magical Indian or like the, violent,
Oh yeah,
like
the domestic
violent
abuse
trilingual.
type stuff with
Right.
Sam
Right.
feels
Yeah.
very coded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Stephanie Meyer does not have a place doing this. This is actually like apparently a big issue in real life of people coming in and inventing stories. I know Overly Sarcastic Productions, a YouTube channel that does legends and myths summaries, has talked about how Red from there has talked about how she has done videos on things that she has then later found out were completely made up by white people. And so now she like will only ever do something if she can like find actual sources that date far enough back, because otherwise it's just like she's just there's no good way of telling what is accurate and what is completely made up, since there aren't like as detailed historical records.
Wow.
So yeah, Stephanie Meyer kind of coming in and doing her own stuff.
Liberties.
It feels very different from like the vampire lore she's inventing.
Definitely. But like, yeah, I feel like it's definitely like super informed by like this disposition that like white people have towards Native people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I do want to briefly touch on the short second life of Bree Tanner. This is the little novella that Stephanie Meyer wrote that takes place concurrent to Eclipse and talks about Bree Tanner, who is the vampire newborn who gets executed by the Volturi at the end.
Hmm.
It's probably the best piece of Twilight media, at least that I have seen thus far. It's just fascinating. It's like a completely different perspective on the lore and the ideas of Twilight from the perspective of someone who does not have like the Cullens looking out for her. Where she just like, yeah, she gets bitten and transformed into a vampire and then is just thrown into this, you are part of this army. The Cullens are out to get you. You need to like feed and get ready for this attack. And then she has this little romance that's like very sweet with a character who doesn't even appear in the movie. And there's like different little things that are being teased, and the Volturi show up and have some talk. And anyway, it gets really interesting. And she's just on the periphery of all of this stuff, just trying to survive.
Right.
And then ends up in this battle, and of course gets killed very perfunctorily because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, just I wish that they had brought in. This already has a lot of elements. All the times they cut away to Seattle, those are adapting scenes from the short second life of Brie Tanner.
Oh, interesting.
I wish they had gone further. I would have loved to have seen more of it, more of her story adapted. But it was just nice to like see the references that they did have.
Did the book come out at the same time as Eclipse? Or did
Yeah,
it come
I
out
think
later?
it came out like very shortly after.
Okay, cool.
It's worth seeking out if you can. I think it's fun. It's a little darker and a little bit. Yeah, it just has stuff that the main series of Twilight can't have.
So the book Eclipse then has like the plot line of the vampire army, but you just never really see their perspective.
Yeah,
right? So that's
because you're just seeing things from Bella's perspective.
right?
So you're
Okay.
hearing about the vampire army, and
Yeah,
but they don't actually show up until the end. Yeah, it feels weird with these Twilight movies because it's so difficult to separate the character and the plot. But let's just move on to the characters for now, and obviously we'll be going back and forth as well. But I give the story here a 3 out of 5.
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
And I gave it a 2.5.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like I think my reasoning behind that was I couldn't remember a lot of the plot after the movie was over.
That's fair. I think the third act is really, really good, and the stuff leading up to it can get a little bit lost in the love triangle and the.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah. So someone described it. I was listening to a podcast about it, and they were talking about how there's a scene of Bella with Edward where she's like, "I love you so much." There's a scene of Bella and Jacob, and she's like, "I don't know how I feel about you." Then Edward and Jacob fight, and then they cut away to Seattle. And that's just the structure of the movie for a large chunk of it. Yeah, they either cut to Seattle or cut to the Cullens talking about Seattle. Yeah, characters. We've been getting into this. Bella, she's torn between the two boys. There's the moody, manipulative vampire, the moody, manipulative werewolf. Obviously, there are differences there, but
I feel like now the biggest thing for me, and I don't want to be like covering Jacob's ass all the time, but
Go ahead.
I gotta say, moody and manipulative. This dude's a teenager. He's got stuff to learn. He can grow. Edward, has he been moody and manipulative for 100 years?
I think that's how. Okay, so here's my interpretation of Edward. Edward is a teenager, and he has not grown in the time that he has been alive. The reason he is 100 years old is because that means he's an old-fashioned gentleman. In theory. In practice, he does not act that way.
No,
But
yeah.
in theory, it's like it's the Mr. Darcy fantasy of like, oh, he has these like old school ideals and he knows how to treat a woman well. But he is also currently a teenager who is the correct age to date Bella. That's my take on Edward and where he's at.
But I feel like it's not like
But no,
it's not necessarily
you're right.
the case that it's like teenagers are moody and manipulative, yes, because they're going through a lot of changes. But like, yeah, I mean, they're going through a lot of changes,
Yeah.
and that happens in a really short period of time. But like, Edward has had 100 years to
Oh yeah, no,
figure out
yeah.
his
He has had
himself.
100 years of listening to other people's thoughts.
Right.
He should be more emotionally intelligent than
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because he's had 100 years of high school, because he like can never graduate and get any older.
Either way, I feel like my thing with like Edward versus Jacob is like, I feel like what Edward is exhibiting is that, you know, is he ever gonna grow up? Because he, you know, has had so long to figure this out, and evidently he hasn't.
And the
Whereas,
answer to it is he just needs the love of a good woman.
oh,
That is within the Twilight. That is what Twilight wants you to think. Is that because Bella can change him?
Mm-hmm. That's how that works.
I don't believe it.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I am
know.
skeptical of
What year did Edward die?
It was like
remember?
1910 or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
it's
Oh,
yeah.
It's in the 20th
yeah,
century, right?
Yeah. But I kind of would love to see just like, dandy Edward. Like,
Yeah.
if he just kept all of the mannerisms from whatever era he existed in and just didn't really keep up with the times at all. That would be a Twilight I'd like to see.
Yeah, more like Lost in Time
Mm-hmm.
rather than like I think that's the plot of Kate and Leopold, the romantic
Yes,
comedy.
it is. Yes.
Where it's like, oh, he's an old fashioned. I think there's time travel in
yeah,
that
he
one.
comes directly from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have the
Makes
age
more
gap,
sense. Yeah.
but you still have the like. Yeah, here I think it's just like the idea, but in practice, Edward is not an
No.
old fashioned gentleman. He's a creep.
Yeah, he's just like a you know, a guy who wears too much hair gel.
Yeah.
He's just like that guy at your high school whose parents are rich and thinks he smells nice and has good taste.
Yeah, I do have to say about Bella, for as much as she gets manipulated by everyone around her, and everyone around her is manipulating her throughout this series, she does also string Jacob along.
Definitely.
So I like this. I think it's juicy character stuff, but she is in love with him and she can't have him. So she kind of selfishly keeps feeding him just this like tiniest little bits of hope.
Yeah.
And like
sure.
Jacob also bears responsibility here for refusing to take Bella's no as an answer.
Yeah.
But there is like Bella does also have some responsibility here. And that's when we get into like the messy teenager drama stuff of it, which I find so compelling. But also maybe isn't the best thing to like sell to a teenage audience as this is a picture of good relationships.
Right.
Yeah. Bella is just very interesting as a character because she is at her core she is the cipher for the teenage experience, at least as Stephanie Meyer sees it, of being an outcast, being awkward and shy, and yeah, no, she's just interesting to me as that like, yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, and I think too, this is just reminding me that earlier I was thinking about how I do feel like I appreciate how, we've been discussing how like Bella is basically a child, right? It's like she is making all of these massive decisions, like she's deciding to get married, at age 18, right? And just like these really big decisions, wanting to be turned into a vampire, whatever, all this stuff at such a young age, and that as like someone in my mid 20s now looking at that, it's like that's insane. What's wrong with you? And that's where I think I appreciated seeing other adults in her life who are having these conversations with her in this movie in particular, like cautioning her and being like, you really better think about this, and like, telling their own stories. Like, I can't remember the name of the character right now, but the one of the Cullen family, right, who tells her story.
Yeah, Rosalie.
Rosalie, thank you. Who like she didn't have a choice in becoming a vampire, and so like her sharing her story with Bella, in hopes of kind of like cautioning her or encouraging her to think more carefully about these decisions and stuff like that.
Yeah, Rosalie is one of the most fascinating characters
Yeah.
because of her backstory.
Mm-hmm.
I like what they do in the movies with her better than in the books. In the books, especially like reading Midnight Sun, which is Twilight from Edward's perspective, you get inside of Rosalie's mind, and the whole thing with her in that one is she's secretly in love with Edward and is jealous of Bella. Which is so
Wow.
much less compelling of a motivation for her than like
What the
she
heck?
had this traumatizing experience and did not want to
Yeah.
become a vampire and does not want to be a vampire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like that's why she kind of hates Bella, is because Bella is being given the choice she was never given. Like that is just so compelling. It's so interesting. And it doesn't rely on like jealousy because of a man.
Yeah.
Like her backstory here passes the Bechdel test.
Right,
It doesn't in the I guess it doesn't quite, because she is like
Yeah.
it is about men still, but it is
It's more about
It's about her.
yeah.
It's about what happened to her.
Yeah.
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 rather than like who Edward is going to be with.
Yeah.
Rosalie and Emmett, I don't understand their relationship.
Me neither. I wonder if they're just like, you know what? You're not terrible to me. Like, let's just let's just try to enjoy as much of this like experience of being a freaking vampire as
Yeah, I cannot imagine the two of them alone together.
Right?
What would they talk about? Emmett would just be like, I am big and strong and I like breaking things. Rosalie would be like, I have a traumatic backstory.
Do we know what Emmett's backstory is? I don't remember.
No, he was in the books, I think he like fell off a cliff accidentally.
Oh.
Like he has a very lame backstory.
Okay. He's just some guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he does not have like as traumatic of a backstory. Same with Esme doesn't really get Esme, who is like Sir not appearing in this film.
Right, yeah.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah, no, Rosalie's story and like is so fascinating. It's such a contrast to everything that Bella is going through. And it is like on a certain set, I don't know who is inserting this, but it does feel like there are forces who are trying to, in the creation of this, who are trying to be like, hey, this story is a fantasy. Like in real life, don't follow the advice of this story, because we have the stuff with Rosalie. We have the Anna Kendrick's graduation speech, which are very much going against Bella wanting to get married and turn into a vampire.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I will say, just my final note on like these decisions that Bella's making is, I do feel like that captures very well what I feel like I remember from being 17 and 18 and feeling like an adult and feeling like, I can make large decisions for myself now, and it like kind of in that moment it feels like that's how it feels sometimes,
Yeah.
even if the adults in your life are looking at you like, you're a child.
Yeah, you don't really get that perspective until later. I have been curious. I want someone, maybe not Stephanie Meyer, to go back and like, what is Twilight 20 years later? Where are Bella and Edward in their relationship?
I have a fear that it would just be really boring.
My theory is that Bella has gone full anti-vax mom.
But I don't need vaccines for vampires.
But that's just the vibe I get from her.
Wow.
Like she got a little too into
it would be
Facebook in 2020.
it would be such an insular life, I think.
Yeah, that's what interests me about like what happens after Twilight. Where do these relationships go?
Like brewing kombucha now.
Yeah. Well, I also just feel like, thinking about like the Cullens and like the like what people think of them, what the fellow students think of the Cullens at the school, and they're like, oh, they think they're better than everybody. I bet they're just bored as hell.
Yeah.
They're just filled with ennui, because they just have to do the same thing over and over again.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's the thing that stories about immortal life sometimes get into, but not often, is how boring it would be.
Yeah, it's almost like you could see it where they could have played it almost like a time loop story where
Yeah.
like the characters, they're like, well, this is my 80th time going through high school, so let's see what disasters I can, initiate at this place, and just
Edward, who could read people's thoughts, like manipulating social groups to like,
oh my gosh, yeah. It could have been so much fun with that.
yeah. Which is like the thing about Twilight is, even though it's a vampire romance story, it is a Mormon story. It's very straight. It's like by the end of this, everyone will have a heteronormative relationship, familial relationship, and Bella will be a mother.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't like play around with that. That's what the Volturi are for. They're the bad, the evil European aristocratic vampires.
Watch out.
Unlike us and our good old American vampire.
Staten Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jacob here, he does so many like inexcusable things, but somehow I find him better than he was in the book, which we've kind of talked about at
Pretty
this
low
point.
bar.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I guess we've talked about most of my notes for him. Yeah, he does so many horrible things, but he and Bella seem to get along so much better than Bella and Edward.
And it's just a better choice. It's just a better choice, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree. I am also like, I prefer werewolves to vampires as like stories. So
I do think the point that I don't remember, Jay, if this was you or which one of you said this, but talking about like if you took Edward out of the equation, what that relationship would look like. Bethany, you said that? Okay. That is making me think of it, in a different light, and seeing that it's like, oh yeah, well then that 100%. I think it's all of the massive red flags in their relationship, like in this movie in particular and stuff. I'm just, yeah, it's hard to see that in a positive light, but
Yeah.
envisioning if Edward was not a factor,
And I mean, the
then,
question is like, is this fundamental to who Jacob is, or is this stuff that Edward is bringing out in him? And if it is stuff that Edward is bringing out in him, is it stuff that would come out anyways otherwise?
Yeah,
good question.
Which is that's like big moral, ethical philosophy questions, not. But no, it is interesting to think about like that alternate universe. And yeah, I think the big thing is like Jacob's transformation into a werewolf turns him into someone else. And you get this like added violence and angst to him that he didn't have before, which is like, as you were saying, Bethany, that's a metaphor for puberty in some senses. So maybe he does eventually grow out of that.
Right, and he's also entering into a new role in his community.
Yes.
Like, it's not just like his own person, but it's like his, like, all of the people in his life probably expect things of him. And like, he's entering into this long history, which probably like, has some kind of like machismo culture or whatever. Like it's
There's definitely, yeah, because we have in here, and I have the character name further down, so I'm just gonna scroll down. Maybe I have the name further down. The Leah, who comes in, and she is a fascinating character because she is the girl who gets added to the vampire or the werewolf group chat because they can all hear each other's thoughts.
That's right, yeah.
And in the book, they are all so angry at her for just existing and having women's thoughts in the boy group chat.
Wow, how dare she?
But it's like, yeah, it's so fascinating of like a dynamic to then explore of like, yeah, it's I find it so interesting. I don't know how much the next movies will get into that because I haven't seen them yet. But her situation, and like, she doesn't want to be in the boys group chat, but she doesn't have a choice. Like, she can't stop thinking, and they can't tune her out. And like, she has this history with the leader of the pack, of like he left her not because he wanted to, but because he imprinted on someone else. And so she is like forced to be in the group chat with this guy who like broke her heart.
Mhm.
And then she's also having impure woman thoughts in the guy group chat. They don't
It's just
want
that
to.
wasn't all their
I
thoughts
was
too.
gonna
Come
say,
on.
yeah,
what a
no.
nightmare.
It's yeah. The books do not treat her well.
No.
But also like yeah, the situation she's in is just so fascinating.
Mhm.
But yeah, that like machismo that is there, that expectation. Because Jacob actually, when he turns into a werewolf, he is actually a higher status than anyone else who has transformed. So he is supposed to be the alpha of
Oh,
the
that's
group.
right. He did say something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just
Chose
doesn't want
not
to.
to.
Yeah.
And there will be something with that coming up.
I can't
Oh
remember.
boy.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to see where he is here. Yeah. Again, I'm Team Jacob, but none of these choices are good choices. I go back to I think Mike Newton is like the best choice, but also in Midnight Suns he's a bit of a creep. So
Well, what can you do?
yeah. I mean, yeah, there is a certain sense of like the worldview of these books is like, yeah, all men are kind of a little creepy, and you just have to be aware and like okay
Right.
with that.
Right.
Just like, oh, maybe that's not the best lesson we should be teaching young people. But yeah, yeah. Charlie,
Yeah.
Charlie.
I love
Every
the talk scene.
Yeah.
Yes. I also love that it's consistently every time the first like scene that he shows up in the movie, everybody cheers.
Audience
Oh
goes
yeah,
wild.
yeah. He's the best.
Mhm.
Again, so much better than in the book. I like that they cut the scene from the book because it makes me able to like his character and not see him in a negative light.
I made a note. Where are my notes in here? Oh, I was looking at the Wikipedia page for this
Yeah,
movie, and for the list of characters, all of it's got the character name and then like a one sentence description of them, and like all of them were just about the character until you get to Charlie, and then it randomly has the sentence Billy Burke, who's the actor, admits he has not read the Twilight books, saying, "We can't make the book, we're making the movie."
That
In his character description.
that is his character
Yeah.
description.
Yeah, so he didn't even read the book either, right? So
Yeah,
he's not the same Charlie at all, clearly, as he has stated. So I appreciated that.
But I think also like if it was the decision of the writer, the screenwriter, to omit what's in the book about his the way he reacts to
Yeah.
Jacob's kiss, I feel like it makes him more consistent in the movie.
Yeah.
His character, where his character is Bella. What are you doing? Like I just want you to have healthy relationships. I want you to
Which
be well.
in the book he is like so heavily Team Jacob.
Which I mean also
Which in the
makes
movie
sense.
a little bit.
But
Yeah.
it also makes sense considering
Yeah.
like he's so close with like is it Billy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it is like it does feel like he has broken his character a little bit. But it is like he is so heavily Team Jacob that he is like, well, maybe that's a good thing.
Right.
Which
He's
is,
so with heavily team like he likes Jacob and he really doesn't like Edward.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. No, it's. I am so glad they cut that out. I think it's so much better for his character. The Cullens. I think it's interesting that the boys get so much focus this time around. I think that might be David Slade coming in and being like, I want to make this appeal to boys in a certain way. Whereas, like, Catherine Hardwick is, I mean, the first book, you can't really focus too much on the boys anyway. And then Chris Weitz is coming in and being like, this is a movie for teenage girls. I am not a teenage girl, but I am going to make the best movie for teenage girls that I possibly can. Whereas this feels like, hey, let's push Carlisle and Emmett and Jasper a little bit further out and like get some more boys out here. And then Esme will she's there at some point, I think.
just like any mom, she gets stuck in the background.
Yeah. Which isn't inaccurate to like how the books are with her, but it is very noticeable here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carlisle, he's like he is stepping into the role of patriarch for the family. just in general. There's not a lot to his character now that I guess they haven't revealed his backstory. He has a fascinating backstory with like his relationship with the Volturi,
Huh.
which they're maybe saving for the next movie. I like his role as Doctor.
Yes, I do too.
And like that scene where he has to like, I guess they
Mhm.
don't really show it, but when he's trying to like save Jacob and has to like re-break his bones to like,
Yeah.
is just like, oh, that's there's a scene in the movie Old, which is of course the beach that makes you old. So someone um has a tumor that they have to cut out, and they have to like, they don't show this because it's a PG-13, but it is one of the most disturbing scenes in a movie I've ever seen because they're trying to do the surgery. They cut her stomach open and it heals immediately. So they have to like hold it open while they're doing the surgery, and it's like
Oh, that's horrible.
squelchy noises and
God.
I
yeah,
don't want to watch that movie.
it's a great movie, but it's it has moments like that of like, and here it is similar thing of like Jacob just heals so incredibly fast that it
Right,
becomes
right,
an issue. I love those like little, we thought a little bit about the lore and we're
right,
gonna
right.
integrate it here.
I also, just coming from my background with like public health and biology, thinking about, it's so cool that he's a doctor. Just thinking about like being in the medical field for centuries.
Yeah,
What incredibly awesome perspective that would give you as a provider, because you would know everything. You
yeah,
would know everything about, these are the ways that we used to do it. This is maybe some of the good things that we can keep from it, but then like all this stuff in modern medicine would be incredible.
Yeah.
That would be a great
And
doctor.
like add supernatural
Right.
Yeah.
knowledge
Yeah.
on top of that. Because that's another part of what's so cool about that scene where he helps Jacob is the fact that it's like, who else are you gonna call to help heal your werewolf? And
Right.
so yeah. And I don't know, that's just a part of, I don't feel like we spent a lot of time talking about the alliance between like the vampires and the werewolves in this movie, but
yeah.
that I think honestly that was a part of the plot that I'd kind of forgotten until you went through our plot summary in this episode. And so I think I really appreciated that. I was like, yeah, let's see more groups teaming up. So
Yeah.
next it'll be Bella, Edward, and Jacob, right?
Yeah.
Teaming up together.
We also have Emmett. He has a fun himbo energy. I love anytime he shows up. I love how he gets along with Bella. Like their little back and forths are just so sweet, and like you can tell that he's just happy she's around.
Yeah, he's got real dog man energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ironic.
He does feel, yeah, he does feel more like a werewolf
Right.
than a vampire.
I don't, the scene where they're like training for the big fight, and what is it, like somebody throws him or something? What even happens? And he's like, do it again.
Yeah, Jasper throws him across the.
Yeah, and I leaned over to Emma and I was like, they're not even training. This is just what they do for fun. Like,
Oh, that
this
is
is
what
them
they do for
playing.
fun. I also love that like he is being bested by Jasper, who's like, not technically younger brother, but younger brother energy, and he has no like shame about it. He's just like, oh, you did such a good job.
See, this is what happens. This is what should happen to Edward. Is you mature. You free yourself of all the expectations that society has given you, because you're old enough. You're like, this is all made up. I can just live my life and have a fun time with it because I'm immortal.
Which is why I don't get why he and Rosalie are a couple.
I think that might be part of it, where they're just like, whatever.
I mean, maybe. I guess yeah, they do have that like. They are the two of the Cullens who are the most likely to just be like, we don't really feel the same way about the vegetarian vampire thing. We're just gonna go off and have our own time. Yeah. Oh, Jasper.
Yeah. What the heck?
Okay. So, in the same way that Edward is supposed to be like the old-fashioned gentleman, and that's why he is so old, I think Jasper is supposed to be like the southern gentleman, this like romanticization of the South. I don't think it's Stephanie Meyer saying any like I don't think she's commenting on slavery or anything with this. I think she's just like, she's viewing again, like, for people who aren't from the US, maybe don't know the extent to which, like, the South is romanticized. I think part of it is just like the US has a tendency to root for the underdogs. And when the underdogs are the South, then it's like, yeah, there's something weird of like, you make him a Union soldier that completely changes his dynamic and how we perceive him. But that's all like cultural construct stuff.
I just feel like, and maybe she's not making a statement, but I feel like the fact that she decided to make him a Confederate soldier, and just like the obvious, if it's not intentional, the fact that she like didn't even think about it
Yeah.
is telling.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh,
Because
no,
also, even if he wasn't a Union soldier, he could have been a Southern gentleman who defected. He
Yeah.
could have been in the freaking Alamo. He could have been like, there are
Yeah.
so many things that he could have been that are not a Confederate soldier. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's again just like this romanticization that doesn't have anything to do with actual history.
Right.
It's just
Right.
because it's the same thing with like, this is 100 years before Twilight, but Buster Keaton's film The General,
Oh yeah.
which actually reverses it in the true story behind that inspired the film. It's about Union soldiers, and they actually switched it to be about Confederate soldiers because he thought it would make them more sympathetic. Because the perception is, the Union, oh, they're the winners, they're the big government coming in and imposing their will. Obviously, if you study the actual history, the South was not in the right. But yeah,
Just
there's
get that
this like
out there.
yeah, there's this like perception of like, oh, since they lost, it's like, oh, this lost era, these people who are too pure for this world. Obviously, no, that's not what it actually was. Read a history book. Read the Articles of Secession of any of the states that seceded. They were not doing it for states' rights. They were doing it for slavery. No, it's just such a weird thing, though, to have in there.
And the fact that it's like not
Yeah.
addressed. I mean, like, there's no place in this story to address it.
Yeah.
Like, but why would you, the fact that it's just there and then
It's stated as like neutral fact.
which it's not.
Yeah.
I
mean,
well, it's not, I don't even know if it's neutral because they're like, they play on him being Southern
true.
and like having military decoration. Like it's supposed to be something he's very proud of.
Yeah, that would be a better story. Might invest in like how he changed over the years and how maybe he learned that some of the values that he held back then are not good values to have held. But again, that's like outside the scope.
Yeah, if there's been any like self-examination between then and now.
I mean, there's been self-examination of himself as a vampire.
Yeah.
And like the role that he played in his own little.
Which
that's true.
Yeah.
If I not to be mean to Stephanie Meyer, if a more intentional writer was doing it, I might buy into that as like metaphorical overcoming racism thing. I don't know that that's Stephanie Meyer's intent with that stuff.
No.
Because that could be a very powerful story of like, he is being used as a puppet, literally, by forces bigger than him to perpetuate injustice, and then like has to learn not to do that. That does not necessarily feel like what we're supposed to be taking away from. I think him being a Confederate soldier and him being a vampire who learned the error of his ways are two separate things.
Yeah. I think also just like, obviously, like I've seen these movies before, and so I knew about this going into it. But I feel like every time it's brought up, I'm like, you know what? Did this actor have a Southern accent in the first two movies? Did he just stand there and look like he had to fart really loud?
He doesn't have many lines up to this point. I do like his expanded role here, though. Like, his backstory, besides the Confederate soldier thing, is really interesting and compelling. And then he like starts to take more of a leadership role. Like, yeah, we're getting a side of him that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. And I like how it just like the story from Billy plays into like it gets folded into Bella's story.
Yes.
So too does Jasper's experience get folded into, what ends up happening with the
Yeah.
vampire army
Yeah.
today, or not today, in the current time of the book.
Yeah, there's something to be said for like cycles of history and that kind of
Right.
stuff, which, yeah, it's fascinating. I kind of wish Stephanie Meyer had leaned into that a little bit more and maybe not done it with the Native American characters by inventing legends for them.
Right.
But yeah, girls, get a little bit of focus here. We have Alice, who I like her future prediction power because it's clearly a headache for the writers, but it feels like they actually do things to work around it. I don't know how it all works out. I don't think they do a good job explaining what she can and can't see. But like the idea of like the enemies here have to split up their actions, and like Victoria can't directly build an army because Alice will see, so she has to like do it
Yeah.
sideways.
Yeah. I had a funny moment watching the movie where the first scene where Alice has like a premonition kind of thing, where they're talking about her hosting the graduation party at the Cullens, right? And then they're talking about that, and somebody says something about like, oh well, that went so well last time, and then it like zooms in on her, and she's like looking really sad. I didn't realize she was having. I thought she was like
No, same,
really
same.
took it to heart. And was like, oh man.
Same. I had the
Everyone
same
hates my
reaction.
parties. I'm a failure.
I love the way that she gets along with Charlie.
Yeah,
That Charlie
that's
really
so
likes her. I
sweet.
think that's really sweet. I also can
Yeah.
remember having a big crush on her when I saw the movies as a young person too.
That's understandable.
Yeah, she's cute.
I wish we got to see more of her and Bella. Their relationship is so key in the books, and we don't see enough of that here. And I do wonder if that's David Slade coming in and being like, "We got to get the boys in here." Again, not to like characterize him in any way. I don't know. He hasn't given an interview about Twilight that I have been able to find in the last few years, so I would be curious to hear him reflect on it and his decision making in the process. But yeah, no, Alice, I wish we got to see more of her. We talked about Rosalie a little bit. Um, good motivation here. Esme, I guess she was here. Yeah. She stands up for Brie at the end, and that's about it. I don't remember. I'm sure she's in a lot of the group shots. I don't remember seeing her in any of the group shots.
It's such a like a sad, like mom thing where it's like, she's a mom.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, and the books are kind of like that as well, but she still gets more to do in the books. She at least gets to be like the supportive mother-in-law to Bella. Whereas here it's just like, yeah, if you told me that Elizabeth Reeser, the actress, was unavailable for most of the filming, I would completely believe you, because she does not feel present. A lot of the discussion scenes take place without her being involved.
Well, and speaking of mothers, though, I guess Bella's mom actually does have some screen time,
just a little bit,
in this one.
And as a voice of reason too.
Yeah.
Another. Yeah.
I thought that the scene where she gives Bella her graduation present was very, very sweet.
Yeah.
And I think it was actually, I'm so glad it was included because it felt like an important, like a pointing to what you were saying, where it's like Bella it's not just two people, it's not two men that she's choosing between, but two paths for her life.
Yeah.
Like, what is she going to hold on to, and how is she going to hold on to all that's come before her in her life? So
yeah, and it almost kind of parallels the graduation hats that the Cullens have in their house,
right?
Of, like all of these little mementos picked up along the way. Yeah, we also have the Quileute here. We talked a bit about Leah. I hope she gets more to do because she is an interesting character.
Yeah.
Um, Sam, I feel bad for Sam because he's kind of here to be like the worst case scenario of what could happen if Bella stays with Jacob. And especially like Sam and I think it's Lydia. I don't remember what his wife's name is.
Something like that, yeah.
But yeah, the like implication at domestic abuse. Even though like the story is like, no, it was an accident. It is. You're supposed to read it a certain way,
Right.
or at least that's my reading of it. Seth is here though. He's the youngest of the werewolves. The little
Okay, I was
yeah.
gonna ask
He's a
which
little
one Seth
guy.
was.
He's so much fun. I
Yeah,
love
he's
him
great.
in the books. I'm excited to see more of him and what he does. But yeah, it's interesting that the Quileute characters are not given as much focus as the Cullens. We don't understand nearly as much about who they are as distinct people.
Right.
Whereas the Cullens, it's like, oh yeah, Emmett, he's the himbo, and Jasper's like the mysterious quiet one who like comes alive when he needs to. Alice is the weird but like very sweet and nice one. Whereas with the Quileute, it's like, well, I guess Sam is the leader, and then Seth is the little kid, and then there's a
There's
bunch of
the
other ones who are just
pack.
kind of like interchangeable.
It doesn't help that they dress them all the same.
They've all got
with
jorts
the
and no
jorts
Yes.
and no shirt. Yeah. And they all like kind of move together.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the more accurate reason is that they just, were neglected in character development. But it's, if they are a pack of
Yeah.
sorry, not a pack of vampires, a pack of werewolves, then perhaps it's fitting if they're all just, one big, one mass
yeah,
and not distinct, but
yeah. I do have to say, I do think in this case it is Stephanie Meyer is not interested in devoting time to these characters as individuals, unfortunately.
missed opportunity.
Yeah, there are interesting dynamics to be had with these characters that just don't really show up. Hopefully, in the next movie, we get more from Leah and Seth, but we'll see. For our villains here, though, we have Victoria, who does not say much.
Her hair
in this
does all the
movie.
talking.
Oh yeah, her hair is awesome, and like the way, well, this is more visuals, but the contrast between everything else is like so desaturated. So when she shows up with her bright red hair, it's so good.
Yeah.
She's maybe not the most compelling villain considering how little we see of her throughout the movie.
No, it's just I feel like it's kind of the trope of like the
Scorned woman.
right.
Like yeah, there are parallels between her story and Rosalie's, or her and Bella. Even you could try and draw a parallel to. That just is like she isn't in this movie enough for that to make an impact. Riley, we get a little bit more of him. He's like sort of the Jasper.
He has such like big theater kid energy to me. I feel like when he became a vampire, he was like, finally.
Yeah, this can be the segue into my appreciation for how many fantastic screams there were in this movie. Starting with that was the one that caught my attention. Was that transformation scream? I was like, holy crap! This guy is really going for it.
Yeah,
that is like this film announces itself from the first scene, and you're like, oh, this is going to be darker and more violent and closer to horror with that like. Yeah, the scream there is just so good. Yeah. I like his relationship with Victoria and how she manipulates him. I wish they had got him more time again. Like that is more a focus of the Bree Tanner side story. That might have been nice to see those elements drawn in because there is like parallels to be had between that relationship and Bella and Edward's relationship. And I think a more intentional writer might have gone into that, and maybe then Bella and Edward look better because they aren't like Riley and Victoria.
I feel like I totally agree, and I wish they had done that more. I gotta say, I really appreciate how sexy they were. That scene where they're like talking and she like bites him and stuff. I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, then we have Bree Tanner, who does not get much to do, but I wanted to shout her out anyways because she is a really great character from the books. And in here, she plays a very important role of being like the newborn army. They don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They've been manipulated into this. Some of them might don't even want to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that actor did a really good job with what little
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
given.
Yeah, like I was quite upset with
Mm-hmm.
her
Yeah.
ending, and yeah, I didn't think it was going to go where it went, and so I think I was
Yeah, you
already
almost
looking
yeah.
forward to seeing what would happen next
Yeah.
with her,
Yeah.
and then
And to think too what that would do, like to have her brought into the Cullen fold and
Yeah.
having Bella have to watch what it's like to have a newborn vampire
Yeah.
in that dynamic and maybe have to reflect on what she's deciding for herself.
Yeah. And honestly, like the problem with the Brie Tanner short story is the ending and that it's so perfunctory.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there is something about it being a tragic story that you kind of lose. But I do wonder what the dynamic would be if she had survived and joined the Cullens, what that would have looked like.
It could have still been tragic.
It could have, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That's an interesting. If anyone ever does like Twilight 20 years later, I hope they do bring in like a newborn vampire because Bella's newborn. Not to spoil anything, her experience as a newborn is very different from the typical experience. I won't.
No
Won't
more
say any
details.
more. But yeah, there is this like the lore gets set up and then kind of doesn't really matter.
Right.
The Volturi are also here. I love anytime they're standing ominously above events. Like that's when the Volturi are at their best.
Right. There was like I don't know like any of their names, but there was
Oh.
this guy who was always
Oh,
on the
that's
far
right.
left and he was always feeling himself. Oh my god. You could tell in
Yeah.
his head he was thinking like, oof, like make it those
He was
moves,
literally
like,
in
get
like
those
a
shots.
ballet pose,
Yeah.
like his leg like propped, crossed legs, toe propped behind him on the like final face down.
In his
whatever.
mind he was in a Vogue shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
fully understand the motivations. Like I understand them, but I don't think the movie does a good job of like making them make sense. Because they are like I think in the books they're even more intentionally like prodding the army along. Here they're just kind of more letting it all unfold.
Right. I was actually confused about that. Like I was like, wait, did they set this up? Or are they just
Yeah.
like there and deciding like to watch it?
Yeah.
You know?
Because technically what the Volturi are supposed to be doing in this situation is putting an end to the vampire army. Because the Volturi's whole reason for existing is to police keep the existence of vampires a secret. Which is why in the last movie they are going to kill Edward when he reveals himself to so that's why they show up here and are like they should be intervening earlier, so that they aren't intervening earlier is an actual issue. That is they're like going against what they are intended to be doing, but they have this like bigger plan apparently, but it isn't entirely clear because like Aro, who we saw Michael Sheen from the last movie, wants Edward and Alice to join him because he like collects powerful vampires with unique abilities. But then he isn't involved in this movie at all. It's just Jane is making her own decisions, so it isn't entirely clear what Jane is trying to do. If Jane just like really hates Bella or something.
Yeah. I was a little bit disappointed we didn't get any Michael Sheen in this.
Yeah. He's coming back.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I thought it was funny too that they've got like basically this brute that they keep with them. They're like,
Yeah, their
whatever, like,
enforcer.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, kill him.
Mhm.
I will say also, like, Jane torturing Bree is so disturbing. Like, I was not expecting it to be, even having read the books, I was not expecting it to hit that hard. Yeah. Do we have other thoughts on the characters before we dive into other stuff or story or whatever is out there in the air?
You know, maybe this is not for now, but um, the everybody's hair was so weird in this movie. I can't tell who was wearing a wig and who wasn't, but the hair just was distracting to me.
There is some bad hair, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's partially to do with the color grade, but like Bella's hair almost looks black.
Right. It looks like she's wearing a wig too.
Yeah,
That's
which
strange.
might be yeah. Oh yeah, I see in your notes you talked about having more characters get introduced but lost along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was mostly thinking of like Riley, because
Okay.
was he a fully new character for this
Yes.
movie? Okay, I was like,
Yeah,
when he showed
because
up
he
at the
got
beginning,
turned at the beginning. Yeah.
right? I was like, we haven't seen this guy before, right? So, I think that was where, yeah, I was like, okay, new person being introduced. What is this? And then I don't know, just yeah, it felt like there wasn't as much with it as I was expecting, or it's just like, okay, we're building an army, and I guess that's that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff that is like all in the Bree Tanner book that I was like, I wouldn't have minded if this was like 15 minutes longer and we got a little bit more of that. I mean, I would have minded if it was like 30 minutes longer and we got more of that, but I just really like that book. So,
Mhm.
we didn't really talk about Bella's high school friends, which is very in keeping with how much focus they get in the movie.
Right.
But
Mhm.
I appreciate the graduation speech a lot. I think it was just like a really good graduation
oh
speech
yeah,
in general,
yeah,
and of course,
Yeah.
it's obviously very pertinent for Bella, even though I don't think she really registered it at all. She was probably off in Edward Land in
Thinking
her
about
head,
she
but
does like they do cut to her, and she does seem to be thinking on it, but
not
not
very
deep
long.
enough.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I do want to say this is going way, way, way back, but Edward and Jacob in the tent, and like Edward knows he is bad for Bella, which is not confirmed by the plot of the series, but
It's kind of goes back to that thing where he's like, I know I'm bad, but like I just can't help.
yeah,
I'm so
and
obsessed with her.
like the Byronic hero, the oh I'm so bad, but really has a heart of gold,
Right, right.
which doesn't necessarily, but
Yeah.
not necessarily accurate to his character, but that's how we're supposed to read him. Um, yeah, Bella's high school friends don't really do anything.
They're just there for a couple of scenes.
Yeah, I think they basically just show up in the wedding and then that's it for them.
That makes sense. I mean, honestly, if I were her high school friends, I'd be like,
Yeah,
obviously, she doesn't really care about us that much, so I'm gonna continue to be in contact with her after we graduate.
the
They've
the
got their own
the line
friendship
from the
going.
last movie, which I think I missed in the theater, but I heard like when I watched it later, and it's Anna Kendrick when Anna Kendrick and Bella are hanging out, and Anna Kendrick is like in the background of a scene. I'm so glad we're doing this, but also like you're such a terrible friend, and like I know you've been going through a lot, but we all have stuff we're dealing with, and it's like just in the background enough that you don't quite hear it, but if you have the subtitles on, then it's like she's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Bella is not a
Proving your
good
point.
friend. Yeah. Well, yeah. On character scores, I give the characters a 3 out of 5. I just find the dynamic so interesting.
I gave them a 3.5 out of 5.
And I gave them a 3 out of 5.
I will say, I feel like when I was filling out this scorecard, I was thinking about like grading this against the other Twilight movies,
Okay.
and not necessarily against just movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was too much from my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of Twilight.
Yeah, that is completely fair. Any scores that you bring, I mean, the scores are partially just to facilitate discussion.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and it's also for when John and I do our big ranking all of the 200 movies we've seen. We have numbers to rank them by. But we already did that, so that doesn't really matter here. Anyway, visuals. I really vibed with the visuals here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it goes for like a more realistic palette than the other two. Like, the first Twilight is very, very blue and green.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is more like autumnal,
Mm-hmm.
whereas this one is just, it's a little bit like, the contrast between the colors is like turned up a bit so that Bella's hair is black and her skin is white.
Right.
Just like pure. Yeah.
Right. And the I feel like the scenes in Seattle, which mostly happen at night,
Yeah.
are so deeply contrasted visually from when Edward and Bella are lying in that meadow together, where it's pretty pastel colors
and then against the snow,
Yes.
that happens later, and
Which I feel like this is the first of the Twilight movies. I guess the first one has this a little bit, but to take full advantage of, we are filming in the Rockies. Let us have big establishing shots and I guess at that point they're helicopter shots of the mountains and the big backgrounds and stuff. It's as someone who grew up in the mountains and who loves mountains, I was just very much enjoying all of the Rockies here.
And there are a lot of beautiful shots of the forest too.
Yeah, I think watching this was reminding me just how much I love the Pacific Northwest, and I love stories that are set in there as well. I was just remembering, I think this may have been a different podcast or something that I was listening to that was talking about Dead Boy Detectives and how that shows someone was watching it and a family member asked if they were watching Twilight because of the setting being Pacific Northwest as well, but it just has this recognizable look to it,
Yeah.
It's such a unique setting, and I love it though.
Yeah, no, Pacific Northwest is gorgeous, and anything that is set there. My biggest complaint about Twin Peaks as a show is that there's not enough exterior shots.
Right, yeah. Except for in the opening credits.
Yes, the opening credits. That's one of the things I appreciate about the return. That is a separate discussion. I feel like the CG on the wolves has improved a little bit. These are being made a year apart, so it makes sense that the last one has some iffy CG, some very interesting and well executed, or interesting ideas that are not super well executed. There's one shot of Victoria jumping into the water in the last one that looks like the splash is not well incorporated into the. You can tell it's just digital. Whereas here it's okay, this is now 2 years with the wolf models. They can fine tune them a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I watch a lot of movies with CGI in them, especially the new ones that are coming out. And I gotta say, I feel like I would have been this CGI was perfectly acceptable to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have if I had seen this in the theater coming out now, I'd have been fine. Well, that's fine. That's okay.
Some of the
Done
running,
job.
the speed stuff, the running around looks a little.
Yeah, well, that's just also kind of silly to be running around so fast.
Having just done the Sonic movies, going back to Twilight, where it's we're blurring the background and they're moving in slow motion. It's
you can see them going with their arms, pumping their arms.
It's their feet don't feel like they're interacting with the ground correctly. And
you've seen it done too well now at this point to be able to handle Twilight.
I also feel even outside of the CGI, there's still a little bit of awkward, kind of shots and stuff like that. Whenever Jacob would be carrying Bella.
Oh my god.
And there are those shots of him kind of running with her up.
Yes.
That's so funny. It's made me laugh every time. He just looks so silly.
Yeah. I think part of it too is like the khaki shorts and no
Yes.
shoes,
Yes.
jogging up a mountain with Belle. But on the topic of the wolves though, like I think because this is, you know, this is like way old news by now, but I don't think I actually realized that the actors like Taylor Lautner was like actually in a suit acting as the wolf, which I'm sure everyone else listening to this
I
has seen the
didn't know
pictures.
this, so
But yeah, just a reminder. I dropped a photo in the notes
yeah,
of a side by side of.
that is hilarious. Anytime, have either of you seen the Benedict Cumberbatch in the Hobbit movies as Smaug? Where
Yes.
he's just like crawling around. It's just Benedict Cumberbatch, and he's wearing like a motion capture suit, and he's crawling around the ground like a dragon and doing the Smaug voice. And
Yes.
it is so good. Any like actors in motion capture, I love seeing that stuff because you're seeing them like embody something that is not human
Yes.
with their like, and it's just it's funny, but it is also impressive. So
Yeah, and perhaps more impressive for the other actors in the scene.
Right.
yes,
So Kristen Stewart like having to
Mhm.
pretend that this person in a skin tight gray morph suit is actually a wolf.
Mhm. I think it's particularly funny in this movie that they have Taylor Lautner doing that because when he's a wolf, he doesn't talk or anything.
no,
It doesn't have to be him. It could have been
Could
anybody
have
in
been
that
like
wolf suit.
yeah,
a motion, you know, what would you say, like a
Just like a
and I
stunt
wouldn't be
actor.
expert
yeah,
at
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're just if that's just for Kristen Stewart on set. Like I don't know if the animators are using his performance at all to inform
Mm.
the animation.
So she
Yeah.
feels like she's
Because that
interacting with him as the character.
yeah,
I
at
guess.
this time I don't think motion capture is like quite at that level where you could do just like whereas now you can do like real time motion capture.
And I guess like he doesn't have the little dots all over the
Yeah,
suit, right? Which that's usually what like actually tracks the
yeah.
motion or something. So
So yeah, I don't know. They might have just like I mean essentially rotoscope just animated based on his performance, and they might have just completely replaced him. But it is funny that they
Yeah.
yeah usually they just like print out a giant wolf's head for the actor to interact with, or like have a ping pong ball to which they probably did some of that as well. I love we talked about this the intentional use of color like Victoria's red hair, especially in the action scene in the snow mountains, like just such a beautiful contrast.
yeah, right. And like the blood,
Oh yeah,
yeah, that
yeah, it really highlights and like draws your eye in the way that Victoria is being like drawn to it. Like yeah, just very very smart visual filmmaking here. I will say it did feel a little bit male gazy at times. Um,
hmm. What about all the shirtless dudes?
so that is like okay. Here's how I will go into it. So Catherine Hardwick, I believe she's a straight woman. And then Chris Weitz in New Moon, I think, did a really really good job of presenting a not particularly male gazy version. Here, second scene of the movie, Bella stands up. What is the camera centered on? Her butt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she's wearing a costume that accentuates Kristen Stewart's curves, and it just felt like something was different. And it's
This
like you
movie's
do
for
still
the
have,
boys, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
you do still have the shirtless scenes and stuff, but there is that like same thing happens like Bella's mom when she stands up and walks away, and the camera is like there's just something about the way it is framed that is presenting her not as like a character but as an object of desire.
And I feel like with Jacob being shirtless, like I think that was for like part of it is for the like ladies, the ladies,
Yeah,
the Twilight
Don't
ladies
worry,
watching,
we'll objectify the guys too.
right? But also I think it's an aspect of like the cult, the masculine whatever.
it's
Like like
he's being
people can
presented as powerful and strong
right like
rather
men
than
watching the movie can fantasize themselves
yeah
being like that.
Yes.
like I just looked up on the computer to show everyone Kratos, who's a video game character who wears like this is what he wears in the video games. but
Whoa.
he is.
Look at that thigh.
It is meant. Yeah, it is meant to be like you, the male player, are supposed to envision yourself in his body, rather than when you play Bayonetta.
Mm.
And I think people have actually done studies, and it's
Oh
like
my god.
you are invited to look at her.
Right.
And I think someone was pointing out that in the
Your spine.
yeah, apparently in the God of War games, the camera is actually closer to the character to like put you more. You are inside his body. In Bayonetta, it's a little bit further removed.
So you
I
can,
haven't played God of War, so I'm not sure about that. But no, it is like, or even like Zack Snyder loves to do shirtless men in his movies, and it's always like the men are always being framed as like powerful
Mm-hmm.
before attractive.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's very vibes based for me, but it is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that I will sometimes catch on to. Of like when we were watching the Tilda Swinton musical, The End,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, oh, I wonder if this director is gay. Just in the way he was framing
Mm-hmm.
different shots, I was like, oh, there's something here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, here watching this, I was like, oh, there's a this feels different.
Yeah.
it's got a little bit of that Transformers vibe to
Yes,
it.
yes. Thank you for bringing it. That's of course this Twilight series is a sister series with our Transformers series. So. Or perhaps to subvert gender norms, maybe it's a brother series to the Transformers series.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, even the scene with Bella's mom though that you were
Yeah.
commenting on, like I in the theater I could hear the people behind us commenting on her underwear, which is like
Like she got the whale
visible.
tail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
that is like visible and there and like intentional, you know. So it's
Yeah.
I see your point of like there are definitely things like that that they didn't need to
Right.
Yeah,
make them that way.
it's just so weird to me because the other two are very like I never felt like the camera was trying to get me to see how attractive Kristen Stewart is.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she is very attractive just like naturally, I never felt like my eye was being intentionally drawn to that. Whereas here I was like, oh, the director wants me to notice that about her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which yeah, I don't know. I don't think we need to pass moral judgment. It's
Right.
just
It just is what it
interesting
is. Yeah.
to me. So yeah. But no, overall I gave the visuals a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed the visuals.
I gave them a 3.
And I also gave them a 3.
Oh, I should have asked anything else to say about the visuals.
I don't think so. Oh, I guess this was like kind of a visuals related, but also just my question of the vampires being made of glass.
Oh yeah.
Was that the case in the previous two movies and I just didn't remember
Yes,
that?
it definitely was in the scene where she's at her old dance studio in there
Yeah,
with that other
yeah.
Okay,
vampire.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, in my memory, that involved like more gore or something.
Well, it was gore on her. Yeah. Yeah.
True, but yeah,
I think they keep it in the shadows
Mhm.
or like cut
Uh-huh.
away from it a little quicker.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Anyway, I think I was kind of sitting through this movie being like, has this always been the case? And then was sort of feeling like it was probably, like this movie certainly would not be PG-13 if
Yeah.
they were not made of glass because there's a lot of pretty substantial, decapitations and loss of limb and whatnot happening. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah, performances. I'm curious to hear both of you talk about because I've talked about them a lot now. Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson.
I feel like Kristen Stewart is better in this movie than in the first two
Okay.
movies, and I think part of it is it actually might have to do with the sound, if that makes sense. I think like also her character just like gets a little messier in this movie.
Yeah.
But in terms of performances, like I could actually understand what she was saying in this movie.
Mm,
Whereas
Okay,
in the
yeah.
last couple movies, I really had a hard time. Like I felt like she was mumbling a lot. So
Yeah. It was also a quieter theater
Audience,
experience.
it's
So,
true, but I feel like I feel like it does sound or the
yeah,
performance did have something to do with it as well.
yeah. I don't know if I have too much to say. I think to me they felt like similar performances to previous movies, which
yeah.
is kind of, like, yeah, stiff, awkward kind of
Right.
interactions. But
Which I've always interpreted, especially for Kristen Stewart, she is playing Bella as she is written. Because Bella is supposed to be a very awkward character. So, yeah, that's my interpretation. I do know that. I think, I don't know how Kristen Stewart feels about being on camera, but I think a lot of her awkwardness does kind of register as she seems like she feels awkward on camera, which I don't think she is.
No, she's a professional
Yeah,
actor.
she started out as a child actor, but I think for a lot of people, that's why her performance is so criticized, is because they're registering something that,
as
yeah,
like bad
yeah,
acting. Yeah, because from what I recall, you're a pretty strong defender of it's not bad acting. It's actually like
yeah,
they're doing their
yeah,
jobs. Yeah.
yeah. I do think, like, even with her interactions with Edward are supposed to be awkward, especially in the early movies, because he is constantly trying to restrain himself from murdering her and drinking her blood, and she
Yeah.
is just generally awkward. I think where it becomes a bit of a problem here is that Taylor Lautner has so much better chemistry with Kristen
Yes.
Stewart than Robert Pattinson does.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's part of why the theater was so heavily Team Jacob. Like, to the extent of any time Bella and Jacob were in close proximity, people were rooting for them to start kissing. Anytime Bella and Edward were in close proximity, people were going, "No, ew, that's so gross." I think it's chemistry. I think it's just there's something about Taylor Lautner and how he interacts with Kristen Stewart that then translates to their relationship on screen. Which is weird because Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson were dating at the time.
That's
Really?
right. Oh my
No,
gosh, I forgot about
I think
that.
this is because Kristen Stewart has since come out as lesbian, so this was not like there was a lot going on here. My theory for this kind of thing has always been, you take two actors who are very good at acting, and you put them together, and you say pretend to be in love, and then they pretend to be in love, and
Do
maybe
it.
while they're pretending to be in love, they're like, is this real? Is there a connection here? And then it just so happens to be very convenient for the marketing of like, oh, these two actors fell in love on set, so everyone is kind of pushing, even just subtly, maybe not intentionally, they're just pushing for you to get together. So that's kind of how I read their relationship. I don't know if either of them have talked about their relationship since
No.
Twilight,
I
but
also wonder. I mean, they were both so young.
yeah,
It's probably just like, well, I did
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I don't know that they have, looking back on it, like grand takes about it, but that's my perception of it, is that it was very much a relationship of convenience rather than,
And expectations.
yeah, yeah, because then Kristen Stewart cheated on him, and it was like a massive scandal.
Wow.
Oh wow, you're really bringing it back.
Yeah, but yeah, then looking back at it, it all feels a little silly because obviously Kristen Stewart was like trying to figure things out.
Did she cheat on him with a woman?
No, with the director of Snow White and the Huntsman.
What?
Which then caused enough of a controversy that became a huge success, which is why we got a sequel to that, not starring Kristen Stewart, starring Emily Blunt.
That's right.
Emily Blunt, Jessica Chastain, and Charlize Theron in one movie together. I was
Holy
so
cow.
excited for it. It's not a good movie, but I had a fun time with it. That was back when I was into Jessica Chastain as an actress. I watched anything I could that she was in. But yeah, Taylor Lautner. He also has better chemistry with Robert Pattinson than Pattinson has with Stewart.
Truly.
Like that scene in the tent, which you were alluding to before. They just like, again, that was when the audience was rooting for them to kiss as well.
Can you imagine what would have happened if they in the heat of the moment kissed
Yeah.
and they realized what they could have?
And would that have included Bella, or then she's just like left to figure out where she goes from there?
You know what? I have a
Neither
feeling
options are available anymore.
I have a feeling it wouldn't have included Bella.
Yeah, no, it is insane how much chemistry Taylor Lautner has with everyone who he shouldn't have that much
He's
chemistry
very
with.
charming, it
Oh
seems.
no, he is. And again, I think it's just like he has this like sweetness to him that he just seems like very sincere, even when he is playing scenes that are a little creepy. He just like has that energy to him of like, oh, he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, and he has a lot of just like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, he's just very like he's just kind of letting himself go and letting himself be, and Edward is always just like restrained.
Yes.
And so he like, yeah, I don't know.
And
Jacob feels a lot more real and like, yeah.
And I think that's for me the difference between the books and the movies is that in the books, when Jacob starts acting all moody and weird, it's because he has become moody and weird. In the movies, Taylor Lautner's performance, like, he is not fully selling me on the bad boy vibes. He is selling me on someone who is, like, playing up the bad boy vibes, but isn't actually a bad boy.
Definitely.
So I think my read on that character is very different in the movies than in the books. And maybe that's like, I don't know. I don't think it's controversial to say Taylor Lautner is not the greatest actor who ever lived. So I think part of that is just his natural energy is seeping into the performance. But it actually makes the performance better because it makes his character more excusable for some of the things he does.
Right.
Yeah, I do feel bad for Taylor Lautner because he was not supposed to be Jacob. They were going to recast him for New Moon. And then he went on like this extreme workout and diet routine to bulk up. And then he just like that was his life for the next few years was just like trying to maintain that body. And then he said like once he didn't have that body anymore, he felt like I forget what word he used, but he felt like he had lost part of his identity.
Oh wow, that's really
and like
sad.
took him several years to and he's basically retired now, which good for him. He probably makes enough off of Twilight residuals that like
Just
he can
comfortable.
but it is kind of sad to hear about his experiences on this, and especially because he was 16
I was
when
gonna
New
say
Moon was
we were just
filmed.
talking about how
was
young
just a
he was
kid.
during this. So when you think about that, like it to have that become such a integral part of like the worth that people are placing on you at such a young and
And
impressionable
then it
age.
transfers to everyone else because for a while this was seen as like the desirable male body, and if you don't have this, which you look into like what Taylor Lautner was doing, or like the Abercrombie and Fitch models.
Dehydrating themselves.
Yeah, it's like that is not a healthy way to live.
Right. And I feel like for him as an actor to be 16 and to be fitting into these ideals and having those expectations placed on him that his body is going to stay like that when he's 16 and is not even an adult yet. And your body's going to change when you become an adult, regardless of who you are and what you're doing. That's just really sad.
Yeah, I am glad that he seems to have found more stability now. But yeah, it colors the way you look at it because it is impressive how he looks in these films. Like undeniably,
He's got very defined muscles. Yeah, for
he
sure.
put in the work, and he got the part. But there is also something a little sad about it.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's like the knowing that all of this stuff, and that he was like underage for some of this, completely recolored the way when I was watching especially this one in the theater, and like the audience responses in the back of my, because he takes the coat off and everyone in the audience cheers, and in the back of my head I'm going, Yes, he looks good. Also, there's a lot going on there that
At
is.
what cost?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, Taylor Lautner. I have a lot of respect for him in these.
He's
Grand
also he's a
Rapids.
Yeah.
homegrown boy. I remember my friend. I have a friend from college who's from Hudsonville,
Oh,
and he was like, yeah, I actually like know the house that Taylor Lautner
wow.
like was from. It's just right,
That's-
just
yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of my coworkers knows someone who was a classmate of his. It feels like you talk to anybody around this area and they have some
Right.
Yeah.
only a couple degrees away from Taylor Lautner.
Mm-hmm.
No, we have a lot of just returning actors who are, I think, giving very similar performances to what they have before. One actor who completely leveled up here for me, Jackson Rathbone as Jasper. I said in the first movie, I did not like his performance at all because, again, you said he looks like he's holding it apart the entire time. And I just assumed that was like going to be his performance. So when he comes in here, it is like completely turned on to like a new wavelength. I was impressed, to say the least.
Man, also that name Jackson Rathbone. They could have
Yeah.
just kept that name.
Yeah.
Stephanie Meyer should have looked him up.
Yeah.
Put that name down.
Yeah, I was just so impressed with his performance here. Even though, like, I don't know
Why do
if.
they have the same last name?
Oh yeah, I don't know what is up with the last names of the Cullen family. I think it's because the story is that some of them were adopted, so some of them have different. Because Alice and Emmett are both called Cullen, so they probably shouldn't be dating in high school. Two people also named Cullen.
So it's like more about the image they're projecting.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
see. Okay, I was like,
That would
huh?
be my guess. And actually, that is kind of funny because they are the type of people like Emmett. Rosalie is definitely taking Emmett's last name. I could totally see Alice be like, Jasper, you are taking my last name.
Yeah.
So the fact that they all end up being Cullens by the end.
Yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard is in here as Victoria. This was a recast role. The studio officially said that, I don't know who it was, and I don't know if I can find the name because I'm sitting too far away from my computer.
This is stuff about Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh yeah.
To scheduling complex.
Yeah, that is what the studio has said. The actress who played her in the first two movies said she was completely available and wanted to do the role. Now, Bryce Dallas Howard was,
Can you put your mouse down and see who that is? Oh. Huh.
yeah. So initially, Bryce Dallas Howard had actually been offered the role of Victoria in the first Twilight film, but she said it was not enough of a role for her.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so they cast someone else. And then now that the Twilight movies are big, they go back to Bryce Dallas Howard and say, hey, I assume they tell her, I hope they tell her, because it looks better for her, hey, our other actress can't make it. Can you step in? She's like, okay. It sounds like that maybe wasn't actually the case and that they just wanted a bigger name, which is kind of weird because she doesn't have anything to do.
Right.
Like,
And I didn't even notice that it was like a different actor, really.
Okay.
I truly did not notice.
Yeah.
It also has been a while since I saw the last two, but
I am a huge Bryce Dallas Howard fan. I love her work with M. Night Shyamalan, especially. And then she's like become a director herself, which is really cool.
Wait, what? What did she direct?
She directed several episodes of The Mandalorian.
Oh, because didn't her father also do stuff with
Yes,
Star Wars?
Ron Howard did the Han Solo film. Ron Howard, who starred in George Lucas's, forgetting the name, his teenage movie, American Graffiti.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
they're both actors turned directors. She hasn't done any like big projects yet, and I haven't seen like I like that she's a director. I don't love The Mandalorian right now, so but no, I love her. I'm a fan. So when she showed up, I was very excited, but also completely unnecessary casting, and it's unfortunate that it kicked another actress out of the role.
Right. That sucks.
Yeah, and it might have genuinely been scheduling conflicts that they probably could have worked through and then decided not to because they wanted a bigger name. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That's just what Wikipedia says.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to highlight Gil Birmingham, who plays Billy, who I think he's a phenomenal actor.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is just me reading into it. He seemed a little bit uncomfortable during the tribal meeting scene
Mm-hmm.
in a way that I'm like, is he as an actor thinking he is reading this fake legend and like having to sell it as a real thing? Like that just seems like a very cruel thing to do. It's one thing when you're writing a book. It's another thing to give this to a Native American actor and say, deliver this as if this is
Right.
accurate.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah.
So again, maybe that's just me reading into it. I think he's a phenomenal actor. That's just my interpretation. And if he is uncomfortable, he should be uncomfortable reading it because he should not be put in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Boo Boo Stewart as Seth Clearwater. Great name. That's his nickname, but that is how he is credited in the film.
I love that.
Anna Kendrick giving a big graduation speech. She's always fun in these. Yeah, and then I did want to shout out Jodelle Fairland as Bree Tanner, who, as you were saying, her scream is just haunting. And I do wish we had gotten to see more of her as Bree Tanner. I think she is a very good fit for that role.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, any other thoughts on the performances in general or specific performances?
I think just to reiterate with the stuff about Riley, I feel like that I don't know if it was that actor or if the character himself, but like I just feel like that performance was leaning in so much to this very over dramatic
Yeah.
like this guy was playing a role.
Yeah.
You know, Riley he was stepping into a role here.
Embracing
Yeah.
like what he's heard tell many things about vampires.
Yeah, I'm surprised
And now
he didn't break into
this is his
song.
moment.
Yeah, this is Xavier Samuel, who I don't know much about him. Apparently he's one of the like Australian boys that Hollywood tried out for a little bit in this time period.
Huh.
Like Chris Hemsworth obviously was a big one, and he actually became a big name. But you also had like Brendan Thwaites, who didn't. I mean, he's done other stuff, but not as big a name as Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, Liam Hemsworth, obviously Chris Hemsworth's brother. Yeah, I give the performances overall a 3.5 out of 5.
I gave them a 3.
I gave them a 3.5.
So yeah, last up we have the sound.
Yes.
Now, I must have seen this before, but while I'm sitting in the theater and listening to the soundtrack, I immediately go, did Howard Shore do this? Because it does have so much like Lord of the Rings sprinkled in. Like even just specific music cues that I was recognizing that I'm not super familiar with Howard Shore's work outside of Lord of the Rings. I know some of his scores, like Crimes of the Future, but that's a very, very different score. So I don't know if those are like trademarks of his score or if he was like bringing in elements of the Lord of the Rings score. But I loved it. I love Lord of the Rings. So maybe I'm a bit biased on this part, but I just very much enjoyed the score. And it just like really enhances the like sweeping emotions and intense scenes. Like he does a very good job selling what you're supposed to be feeling.
Right.
Which in something like Twilight, which when you take a step back, it's all kind of a bit silly. So you need a score that's gonna like guide you along the way.
Right.
Why was I feeling so emotional about this story?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's because the music tricked me into it.
Well, not even necessarily tricked, but facilitated your engagement.
There we go.
That's how I like to think of it, at least.
Yes. You can't separate it. It's all part of the experience.
Yeah. Although there are movies where I definitely do feel tricked into feeling emotions. So yeah, I don't think like the selection of other music, like they're bringing in So the first Twilight soundtrack, they just like found whoever would give them a song and got those songs. Then all of those bands had a massive spike in listenership.
Mm,
So for the second one, they were auditioning bands
wow.
to bring in songs for that. And I'm assuming they did that here.
No, they didn't.
They didn't.
I definitely recognized a Black Keys song, and they've been doing stuff since like
It's
really
yeah.
early 2000s.
I don't know. I know for the last one they did like specifically pick out certain bands, but they did also audition for different stuff. So it's like a mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did that here. I didn't notice the um pre-existing or the brought in music nearly as much. Um I've listened to it like separately. There isn't like a movie songs from the movie album
Really?
on Spotify like there is for New Moon.
Hmm.
But yeah, it just isn't quite as strong for me. The New Moon soundtrack I have been listening to on repeat since I watched New Moon, and this one just didn't grab me nearly as much.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I throughout the movie was just kind of vibing with and appreciating the songs that were picked. I didn't necessarily like I don't think I really recognized them. I was sort of shocked to hear a Muse song that I realized I didn't know,
Oh.
which I was pretty sure I'd heard every song that they'd ever written, but evidently not this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this I don't specifically remember what songs were used in New Moon as much, so maybe you two can help me out there. But obviously, I remember songs from the first one. I feel like there are there are a couple
Oh,
like
some
iconic sort of
classics.
needle drop moments.
Yeah.
And then this, it didn't feel like there was any of that
No.
in Eclipse.
No.
And I can't remember New Moon though. What were
I
like?
don't remember much about the
Okay.
New Moon soundtrack.
New Moon is like Meet Me at the Equinox, Possibilities. There's a I think there's a Bon Iver song. And the New Moon soundtrack is worth listening to on its own. I think. This one, I don't know
There's
as
some big
much.
names: Florence and the
Yeah.
Machine, Sia, the Black Keys, Vampire Weekend, Muse,
I don't think I
obviously.
Yeah.
see it was around that long ago. Huh.
Yeah,
Band of Horses, CeeLo Green. Yeah. Okay. No,
Yeah.
there's definitely these are established
I was
artists.
looking on Spotify earlier. This is for Eclipse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it wasn't actually one that was used in the movie. I don't know. There was a song by like Bombay Bicycle Club.
Oh, yeah.
The one that has that cover of that Nick Drake song that I love.
Yes. Yeah.
And it could also appear in the movie, but not on the
Not
official
be credited.
album.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is the official movie tie-in album. So yeah, I couldn't find this on Spotify, so I was just doing a playlist. Oh,
yeah, I found
is
it
it
on
like an
Spotify.
actual
It's not
album?
an official.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah,
it's
someone
it
created
says the Eclipse score and soundtrack from a Twihard.
So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to listen to more of this because I do like Florence and the Machine. Maybe it just wasn't my style as much as the New Moon soundtrack was. But yeah, they do get in big name artists for these Twilight movies now that the first one has come out and boosted everyone's career. So yeah, that is my thoughts on the sound. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Usually sound doesn't take very long to get through.
I think again, like I don't know if this was sound or if this was the performances, but I did feel like the dialogue was easier to hear this time around.
That might very well be the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Any last thoughts before we wrap things up here? I guess we should give our scores. I gave this sound a 4.5 out of 5.
I gave it a 4.
And I also gave it a 4.
So yeah, last thoughts before we give our final scores.
I don't think so.
We've said all.
Yeah,
that
my brain
there
is
is to
empty.
be said. We must have done it right then.
Yeah.
No, I think we got through a lot here. Yeah, both of you, I said that on the way over, you were thinking you didn't have enough time to process the movie before we started recording. Are you feeling like you had some good processing time?
Definitely. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Looking forward to Breaking Dawn.
Oh, I can't wait. We
Yeah.
already have our tickets,
Yeah.
Bethany.
I
You got
should get
yours?
my ticket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, my final score is an 18 out of 25, which is a 72% or a 3.6 on our 5-star scale.
And mine is a 17, which is a 68 or a 68% or a 3.4.
And just continuing one step down, mine is a 16 with a 64% and a 3.2 out of 5.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. Maybe it's just the book gave me lower expectations going in, but I just
You were
love
pleasantly
this one.
surprised.
Yeah. I guess it's also like this is often considered the least good of the Twilight movies, like just general opinion online. So I went in trepidatious and left feeling like, oh no, this is actually maybe my favorite of the bunch so far.
Wow.
So
Yeah. That's great. I'm happy for you.
Oh boy,
well, yeah.
I'm just
On
gearing
that
up for the craziness that's gonna happen with Breaking Dawn.
Yeah, I'm excited, Emma, to hear your reactions to some of the elements in it.
I've heard tell of some things, but you know.
Specifically the imprinting thing. I want to know how you react to where they take it.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared now.
Well, yeah, on that note, thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media. We are Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram and Tumblr, Binging Barbie on Twitter and Serialized, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a 5-star review and go join our Patreon. Now, I know neither of you have like podcasts or things to promote, but is there anything you want to promote?
Oh boy.
Come see Esther the Musical at Jewish Theater Grand Rapids in Grand Rapids, Michigan, starting January 30th.
Yeah, I think this episode will be out before then. If not, then you missed it. But if it is, then go and see that.
Well, it's until when?
Until February 8th or 9th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this will be out before that is out of the theater.
Unfortunately, I have no big projects I'm working on. I pretty much just go to work. But my message to the world is eat your vegetables and I love you.
Couldn't have said it better.
Put that on a throw pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will be back, or I will be back next week to talk about Breaking Dawn Part 1 with returning guests Rachel and Samariel. And until then, imprinting on a podcast is like when you hear it, everything changes. All of a sudden, it's not gravity holding you to the planet, it's binging Barbie. Nothing else matters. You would do anything, be anything, for binging Barbie. Bye, Barbie!